Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're searching for an incredible novel, check out my Patreon page. Your support will help transform this story into an exciting audiobook. Join me on this adventure. By becoming a Patreon member, you'll be helping me keep creating and bringing this content to life. Thank you for being part of the journey.
Technomancer of Marvel. Chapter 1. The Day Things Change. In a dark void, which seemed to have infinite space, you could see a light. This blue light appeared similar to a candle flame as it flickered and seemed to blow out at any moment. If we look closer, we will see that light was actually a person. He appeared to be 6 foot 2 inches tall, average looks, short hair. This figure was see-through with no corporeal form, meaning he was nothing but a spirit. This spirit was now in a sitting posture as it floated in the void. Where the hell am I? Why can't I feel my body or anything around me? After noticing the lack of feeling in his body and limbs, the spirit looks around and notices the endless void he was currently sitting in. What's going on and why am I here? What was I even doing before I ended up here? Thinking back, the spirit remembered who he was. His name was Damien Shade. He grew up in an average middle-class family with loving parents and lived in the United States of America. He grew up watching all kinds of heroes on TV. But when he got to high school, he was introduced to the world of anime and watched countless series. But even though he watched a lot of anime, he never forgot his love of the classic heroes in Marvel and DC, watching a lot of their movies, TV shows, and a few comics online. After graduating high school, he spent 5 years working hard to get his bachelor's in mechanical engineering, nearly finishing the last few courses he needed for his degree. That leads us toward the last few moments that Damien remembers before he wound up in that endless void. It was finals week, and he only had one more exam to finish before he was done with university life at the age of 24. He was frustrated that he had spent the last 2 weeks studying for the 5 courses he was taking this semester to the point that he couldn't even watch any of the updates of his favorite anime, and some shows on MCU. Waking up at 7 a.m. for his last final that begins at 9 a.m., Damien struggles with exhaustion after weeks of running on 2 to 4 hours of sleep a day just to make sure he could cram and review everything he could for these exams. By the time he finally made it on campus, it was already 8 a.m., so he had a bit of time to de-stress and relax as he leisurely walked to the classroom. Being exhausted from the lack of sleep and stressed from the week of exams, this was a perfect moment to unwind for a bit and clear his mind. As he was getting ready to cross the street, he noticed that there was a car speeding down the road that was about to hit this woman in front of him. I know what you're thinking. The cliché save a damsel and get hit by the famous truck queen. But this isn't that type of story. He drops his book bag and begins to sprint across the street to push the woman out of the way of the speeding car. Just as he was sure she was in the clear, he noticed how close the car is to hitting him, so he jumped as hard as he could. After barely getting past the car, he lost his adrenaline rush and his exhaustion hit him all at once. Losing all strength, Damien stumbled and fell forward on the curb and fell head first. Hitting his head on the curb, Damien opened a huge gash on his head and cracked his skull. The young woman who was just saved looked over to her savior to thank him, but instead saw him in a puddle of blood. Seeing the huge puddle of blood, the woman screamed, causing a huge commotion. Damien, this is what I get for trying to play the hero after watching too much anime. I hope this isn't the end, The pedestrians nearby run over to see what the commotion is all about, some calling the police and some trying to help stop the bleeding, and some just standing around to record everything. Some time later an ambulance pulled up and started moving toward Damien. Damien, finally the ambulance is here. Hopefully they will be able to help me. It's already starting to get cold, Having a few moments of consciousness on the ride to the hospital, he can hear the paramedics talking about his chances of survival, and let's be honest here, they were slim to none. Wondering if this is the end, he closes his eyes for what he thought would be the last time. Back to the present. After thinking back and remembering his life and his final moments, Damien begins to look around once more. Paying closer attention to his surroundings, Damien begins to think about his current situation. Damien, this dark space is seemingly endless. It almost seems like those afterlife, between worlds type places in many different anime that have been popular recently. Next I'm probably going to be talking to some being of higher power about reincarnation or something, While thinking that, Damien begins to hear a mysterious voice in the surroundings, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Not some being of higher power, but the god of creation. And I'm not here to talk to you just about your reincarnation, but that is a topic for later. Chapter 2. The Afterlife. Looking all around himself, Damien can't seem to find the source of the voice. Turning around trying to see if it could possibly be behind himself, still seeing nothing but void. God of creation. It's unusual for souls to end up in my domain. When people die and pass on, they usually go through the cycle of reincarnation. Damien-Soul? Cycle of reincarnation? So I guess that means I'm dead then. Thinking back, this current setting reminded Damien about all the iSky anime/novels he's seen before. Just as he was about to ask another question, there was a bright flash of light in front of him. As the lights slowly dim, Damien is able to see the form of an old man appear before his eyes. The old man is slightly shorter than Damien and had a long beard that ended at his waist. Wearing a white robe and being surrounded by some sort of glowing golden aura, while at the same time giving off the type of vibes and feelings a person would get standing in front of a loving and caring grandfather. GOC- that's right. You just died not too long ago in the process of saving the life of a young woman. Rubbing his beard and looking as if he just thought of something. The god of creation then looks back at Damien. It seems that the young woman you saved was influenced by your act of kindness and was able to finish her studies and went on to be a very successful doctor. She later saved many lives, often going out of her way to work on those who couldn't even afford the procedures. Damien-**wow. I'm surprised so much good came from saving one person. But at least something good came from the whole ordeal, GOC-, you are right in thinking the effect your death had on the world caused a lot of lives to be saved. Also, to be able to appear in my realm your soul is quite strong. Since you are now outside of the cycle of reincarnation and have done good deeds in your previous life, I will help you transition to your next life. Damien-**, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the GOC can read my thoughts. But it would be so cool if the world he sends me to is like one of the animes I watch **. Hearing the explanation, Damien couldn't be any more excited. He was just hoping to be able to have an iSky life of his own. While at the same time, he cautiously listens to what the god of creation has to say. GOC, because your soul is stronger than those in your previous universe, I am going to send you to one on a higher plane of existence. These universes are filled with beings and objects of power you couldn't imagine. I believe that glimpses of these universes have been spread around your world as entertainment. Most of the movies, comics, and anime in your world are just stories from the multiverses of a higher plane. Hearing that most of the anime and movies he watched had a universe that it was based off of made Damien even more excited about his pending reincarnation. GOC- after reviewing your life, I realize that there's a few movies, TV shows, and comics that you've seen revolving around one of these universes. I believe you call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm going to send you there for your next life. The reason I'm sending you there is that it seems to be the universe you have watched the most. Plus, knowing your personality, you would probably help the heroes get stronger and unite to prevent villains from taking control. Of course, once I send you to the Marvel universe, you are free to do anything you like. Now knowing that you're going to the Marvel world, what powers or abilities would you like to have to prepare yourself for the events to come? Hearing all this, Damien couldn't help but remember the events that happened during Infinity Wars and Endgame, in which countless people are snapped out of existence, Avengers mess with the timeline, and those people are brought back to life. All of which in some way or form involved villains affecting the universe. Thinking about all the abilities and powers seen/mentioned in all his favorite shows, he begins to question something. Damien-, are there any limits to what I can ask for? Hearing this, the god of creation smiles, glad Damien was intelligent enough to ask for details before he wasted this opportunity. GOC, there are many limitations to the abilities and powers I can give you. I can't make you into a godly being, give you magical abilities that don't conform to the system of magic in that universe, and I won't give you any powers that are too powerful from the start. Although I will allow for powers that can grow or have the potential for high levels of strength. Another thing is that I will limit you to 3 powers. So think carefully before you make your choice. Realizing his power choices just got nerfed, he thought of how he could take advantage and possible loopholes. Damien, is it possible to ask for the Marvel equivalent to some powers or abilities? GOC-, that is a good question. Yes, Damien. If you ask for the Marvel equivalent, then I could give you the powers/abilities you need to gain the complete ability you asked for. Of course, like all powers I give you, it will start weak and must be trained to reach a higher level of strength. Realizing that he can only get 3 powers, Damien thinks hard about the kind of life he wants to live in Marvel. Know how advanced the MCU is technologically, and how unsafe it was to live in that world. Knowing how most dangers in the MCU come from technology or the abuse/lack of information, he starts thinking about powers of a technological effect. Then he had an interesting thought. Damien-**, what if I ask him for a power or ability that lets me control technology? That wouldn't be enough though. In the Marvel world, I'd need more than just control of technology. But what about being able to create anything I imagine with the base materials? I remember there being a magic that could do all of that. It allowed the user to communicate and control tech, understanding/controlling data and code, creating machines from materials given, and upgrading machines. It had many other uses too. This will be my first ability. Asterisk. Damien. Okay. I've thought about my first ability. I want the Marvel equivalent of Technomancy, with all the powers having the potential to be enhanced or grow in strength with training and time. Of course, without any of the body transformative or augments. Damien said, understanding just how often cyborgs and robots get hacked or receive viruses. Would it be possible to get the mutant version that's undetectable through Cerebro and things like it? I want it to be a mutant ability the moment I get to Marvel. GOC-, it's possible to give you the mutant equivalent, but there are quite a few powers and skills that will be included. I'll make it so you instinctively know how to use them, but you will have to learn how to best use them. Smart of you to ask that. They have the potential to grow in strength, and I look forward to seeing how far you can take this ability. Now what will the other two be? Sighing in relief, Damien thinks back and remembers that there are two more things he will need in the Marvel world. He needs a way to heal and be able to survive all the random attacks, terrorists, and super battles to come. He also needs an ability that enhances his mind, memory, recall ability, intelligence, and comprehension abilities. What's the point of going to Marvel if I can barely remember all the events and info I need to take advantage of? And without the proper intelligence, I won't be able to use my Technomancer abilities to the best effect and understand how the machines work. Damien - my second ability should be a mutant healing factor that can grow in strength the more I use it. But I want to have control of the healing factor. Like being able to decide when an injury heals, how it heals, or which body functions are healed at a time. But that doesn't mean that the body needs a command to heal fatal wounds. GOC - I was wondering whether you would get a life-saving power or not. It's no problem to give you a healing factor. I can even give you conscious control of the healing, but no matter what I do, your body will have an automatic reaction to heal damage that affects the body's function. Any fatal or crippling wounds would be healed automatically if you don't consciously postpone/stop it or direct how it heals. Now what would be your last ability? Now that he has that finalized, Damien thinks of what ability he needs to improve all his mental faculties. Thinking of all the brainiacs and geniuses he has seen in his shows. Damien - for my last ability, I want enhanced intelligence. The ability that enhances all my mental faculties like memory, processing, calculations, multitasking, focus, and things like that. Also being able to grow in power the more it's trained or used. GOC - that is easy enough, Damien. Now I'm going to send you to the Marvel world and have you take over the body of a young boy with the same name as you. When you wake up, you will have all the abilities stated before and instinctively know how to use and control them. I'll even allow you to keep the memories of the boy to make integrating into the new world easier. I wish you luck. Saying his piece, the god of creation waved his hand, and Damien was surrounded in a golden light and warmth. Then he disappeared from the void. I hope you will be able to unite the heroes and prevent that Titan from killing half the universe. After the flash of golden light, things went dark and his entire life flashed before his eyes. Even memories from early childhood he thought he had forgotten. He remembered everything and could recall all the information he wanted from his memories. Then the flashback ended with the scene of his death. But just as he thought he was done, a new flash of memories began. Chapter 3. Waking Up. Born on May 4th of 1996, to the happily married couple of Jasmine and Alexander Shade, was a quiet baby boy. This child was named Damien Shade. The parents of this child were both successful in business. Alexander being an accountant that works independently, while able to choose his clients. More often than not, he ends up working for a lot of people with financial problems and helps them to clear their debts by properly managing their money. Jasmine, on the other hand, works as a lawyer, doing her best to make sure that those who commit crimes get their consequences. Growing up, Damien spent a lot of time with his parents, who always made the time to be with him. His dad, being an independent accountant, was able to often work from home and take care of Damien, while his mom, wanting to spend time with her new child, took time off from work for 3 years after Damien was born. It was a loving and caring family. Damien was also considered smart for his age. Since he was 3 years old, he was starting to show that he learns things quicker and easier than all the other toddlers around. Already being able to read by himself, Damien began to get curious about things, beginning to always ask questions about anything that catches his attention. By the age of 5, Damien was considered a very bright child, always the top of his class and able to easily memorize everything he learns. But Damien had recently developed a quirk of taking things apart to see how they work. But luckily, the things he has taken apart so far were restricted to things easily put back together. Damien was always a very kind, energetic, and outgoing child, which were qualities that attributed to him making many friends with his classmates. Watching the last of the memories flash past his mind, Damien now realized what has just happened. He was reborn into the body of young 6-year-old Damien Shade, and was now in Marvel on March 8th of the year 2002. Damien ***, now that I know I am in the MCU in the year 2002, I have to make sure that I remember everything I can about the MCU. Then I have to test my powers and begin to plan for the future ***. Opening his eyes for the first time in this new world, Damien slowly sits up and decides to look around himself to regain his bearings and reaffirm his memories. He sees the room that he has been living in for the past 6 years. The toys and action figures on the floor, TV and game system in the corner, and cartoon posters all over the walls. He closes his eyes again and thinks about his powers. Damien ***, the GOC said that I would know what my powers were and instinctively know how to control them. Let's see if what Technomancer power I have ***. Focusing on his Technomancer powers, Damien starts to feel something. A slight signal and connection coming from the corner of the room. He focuses on that connection and it splits into two, one feeling bigger than the other. Opening his eyes, he sees the TV in his line of sight. Focusing again on that strange connection, he wills for it to turn on. The next thing he knows, the TV flickers on. Damien ***, this is amazing. I can actually control it with my thoughts. I'll have to get more practice over my powers, but first things first is to research the current events and get used to this new life. Jasmine ***, Damien come down for breakfast. The food is getting cold. Chapter 4. New Beginning. 2 weeks later, New York. After waking up in the body of a 6-year-old, Damien spent his time with his family, researching the new world he's in, and learning how to use his powers. He knew for certain that he was in the MCU, and that there were all sorts of companies and items that weren't available in his previous world. He also spent time trying to learn as much as he can of new skills to better improve his current abilities. Spending time with his family, Damien had to put on the act of a 6-year-old child. Luckily for him, his previous self was already intelligent for his youth, although not considered a complete genius. Although to a 24-year-old Damien, acting like a 6-year-old was kind of refreshing in a way, but also frustrating in a sense. On the plus side, at least he still had a loving family who is always willing to spend time with him. His dad, having a home office, was able to spend the most time with him. They often play video games together, study new topics, or watch movies and go outside together. His mom, on the other hand, although she loves him very much, didn't get to spend as much time with him except for on the weekend. Getting back into her career, Jasmine had to spend most of her time reviewing cases or going to the courthouse. But on the off chance she doesn't have any work to do, or is not too tired, she's able to spend her afternoon with both Damien and Alex. But on the weekends they are able to spend time together as a family, although there may be some minor interruptions here and there due to Jasmine's job, or Alexander may get a few business calls, he still didn't let that disrupt the loving family. And in the 2 weeks' time, Damien has been able to completely acclimate to the life of a 6-year-old. But playing games and spending time with his family wasn't the only thing he did. Like a 6-year-old, Damien did have to go to school. And while in school he was able to research what little information he didn't know about the world. Of course he was able to make friends and continue on with Damien's regular life, but he also spent some time training his abilities. In class, Damien will try and connect to any computers or devices around himself. Mostly things like video games the other kids had with them or cell phones and laptops in the classroom. By doing this, he was able to train his ability to connect with and control technology. While reading the textbooks and other books in the library at school increased his knowledge base and allowed him to improve his mind and other powers. While on the other hand, pretending to continue being the active kid that the other Damien was allowed him to do strenuous exercise and activities with the other kids around him and practice control of his healing factor. By doing so, he was able to work his muscles and body to the limit, or even to exhaustion, and be able to speed up or slow down his healing factor to suit his needs and strengthen himself. While all this was going on, Damien was still trying to figure out a plan of action for his future. The first thing he noticed was that he needs to be able to get his hands on scrap metal and other components and materials to create whatever technology he needs. So he needs to figure out how to get his hands on broken or not working technology. Then he can use his powers to make computers more advanced and compact than anything being used on the planet. Knowing that there were no events in the Marvel world that he should take part in, until the middle of 2003, Damien had time to make ample preparations. So Damien decided that he would spend his extra time using his powers to scan all nearby technology to get their schematics, researching programming languages starting with binary, and practicing hacking with and without his powers. He also begins training his powers, so he connects to more devices at once. Currently in class. Damien ***, although I hate to admit it, being brought back at 6 years old has had its advantages. I get to play and train all afternoon, and nobody thinks anything of it except that I'm an energetic little kid. Also, the classes in first grade, like the math class I am currently in, are so easy that I have time to connect to the school computers. After researching for the past 2 weeks, I'm at least up to date on the current events. Thanks to my memories though, I know that I have a year until the Hand takes control of Rand Industries. I need to spend all the time I can learning as much about programming and hacking as I can. Starting with the origin of programs, binary, and working up to all other known programming languages, Asterisk, thanks to his abilities, it doesn't take long for him to learn the languages. Over the weekend alone, he was able to completely learn the binary programming language. But understanding it and actually using it are two different things. Asterisk, thankfully I can use my abilities to have the machines around me to help me write, correct, and test all the codes I make. Having an enhanced mind and training to multitask is making the job a lot easier. Asterisk. While continuing his research, Damien tries to connect to another computer in class in order to train his powers. The first few times the connection was brief. But on the 10th try he was able to successfully hold a connection to 2 computers. Next he researched a programming language on one and programs for it on another. Damien ***, hopefully I'll be able to keep up the progress in time to start my plan. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Progress and Preparation. 7 months later, home. Damien ***, today on October 19th. Officially 7 months since I woke up in the Marvel world. So far I have trained and strengthened my powers to an amazing degree. I can now connect to up to 5 devices at once while only giving simple commands. Although when fully controlling the devices, I can connect to 3 at once. I have improved my intelligence and can now think in parallel for 2 completely different tasks. I have also relearned all topics of general learning for this world up to the high school level. Things like English, math, history, and basic sciences. I was even able to learn all programming languages made public. Now the next thing for me to do is get started on learning about hacking. Asterisk. Waking up early this Saturday morning, Damien was excited to finally be able to start learning how to hack. But he needed a way to test what he learned. Which brings us to the reason for his excitement. For the past half year, Damien has not only improved his powers but also his body. When sick he would use his healing factor on white blood cells, antibodies and other parts of his immune system. By doing this, he is able to improve his immune system and gain immunity to the viruses. No more common cold or strep throat. He has also been exercising every day. He does push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and lunges until he can't anymore. After which he controls his healing factor to increase the natural healing of his muscles. Then he does stretches to improve flexibility, doing the same to allow for a strong but flexible body. Along with this daily morning routine, he would also meditate every night before bed. Knowing that in the Marvel world there are a lot of people with abilities that can affect the memories and read the thoughts and mind of others, he wanted to prepare himself against that. Plus having that as a way of organizing his memories and further improving his mind was a great bonus. It took him 2 weeks alone to be able to even reach his mindscape through meditation alone. Further modifying his mindscape and building up defenses took months. He surrounded his mindscape with multiple barriers and firewalls that allow him to filter access. Of the 5 barriers and firewalls, the closer to the center of his mindscape, the more advanced the firewalls and their screening abilities and the more powerful the corresponding barrier. The outer level he left blank and made into a communication zone for him and any future psychic friends. This zone allowed him to be able to communicate and share thoughts without it leaking his inner thoughts and interfering with his thought process. But still needed his permission to be able to bypass the firewalls, unless powerful enough to overpower his weakest defenses. The second level was for his surface thoughts and would be a good bluff for those who think they broke his defenses. The constructs of his mindscape begin here, appearing to be a massive compound. This zone also stores copies of general and public information that he gathered in research that normal people would know. Also many false memories and maze-like inner structure with automated defenses, drones, and security scanning at irregular intervals. The third level is hidden in the inner part of the compound, needing verification and access through a firewall to get through. Holding his inner thoughts and more copies of all info he researched and learned. Still all things regarded as his secrets are hidden deeper. In the 4th level hidden are the hidden memories, thoughts, and memories about his powers. All the things he learned to use them better, and even the schematics of all devices he scanned. This may seem like the final level, but everything in this level is also a copy. Behind a hidden bookcase in this library of info is a hidden server room where all the original copies are stored, and this is the core of his mindscape. Filled with servers and 5 different computers. All looking like an upgrade of the previous one. And each has access to some information. Hidden on a seemingly worn-out computer, which in all actuality is the most advanced of them all, but seemed to be less advanced and glitchy than the others, is a secret file hidden in the operating system of the computer itself. This file was actually the true and complete library of everything Damien. His past life included. While others would only be able to see folders and files about his early childhood until 6 years old. This hidden file though was set to replace any and all corrupted information and memories placed or found in his mind after a thorough scan every 12 hours. The different levels of his mindscape, and the maze of the compound to further protect from unwanted visitors alone took him 3 months to complete. Then the added defenses, drones, security systems, firewalls and barriers took 3 more months. This last month though, he has been spending his time meditating while splitting his mind to attack and defend his mindscape. Doing so to find and correct any weaknesses, crack in defense and further secure everything. I know this is a lot, but you know this info will be important later on. Too many Marvel villains trying to brainwash and erase memories. Even while all this was going on, Damien didn't sacrifice any family time. Although he ended up having a lot of late nights because of it, he was thankful that his healing factor was able to rid him of the fatigue and heal his exhaustion. By spending time with his family, he was able to slowly express his love of technology to his parents and show some of his intelligence. As far as they know, Damien is at the high school level while being in the 2nd grade. Being adamant about being normal and staying in the same school, he was able to continue hiding his genius from others outside his family. But to encourage him to continue learning about technology, Damien's parents were going to buy him a new computer. This was for doing better in school the last semester and staying a B-average student, while at the same time hoping that having access to the ever-expanding library of the internet would inspire him to continue with technology later on in his life. Little did they know, this computer was to be the first machine Damien would use his powers to completely upgrade and modify to his liking. Using pieces and parts from broken appliances thrown out, or computer parts bought with money made repairing things for people in the neighborhood and school. Damien ***, I can't believe I'm going to have my own computer this fast. But considering the only computers in the house are Dad's desktop for work and Mom's laptop, where she stores court case information, he's not surprised they would eventually get me my own computer so they won't have to worry about me disrupting the work files when I use their computers. To think that I've been saving up money to buy my own. While at the same time, I've continued to gather computer and machine parts from everywhere to use as a base for the modification. Asterisk. Jasmine ***. Damien, you need to go ahead and clean your room while your dad's on the way home. Make sure you have a clear spot on your desk for the new computer. Hearing his mom, Damien jumps up from his bed and starts cleaning his room. He picks up all the dirty clothes off the floor and throws it in the clothes hamper. He cleared the paperwork from his desk and put it in its rightful place. He makes his bed and makes sure that everything looks nice and neat in his room. Just as he finished making his bed, Damien heard his dad coming through the front door, soon followed by the sound of footsteps on the stairs. Jasmine, Damien, if you want this new computer, your room better be clean, she said as she walked in Damien's room followed by Alex. Damien ***, I just finished cleaning everything, Mom. Please let me help Dad connect the computer now. Chuckling at the antics of his wife and son, Alex brings a big box to the floor in front of Damien's desk. Alex ***, if you want to help, then come over and let's unbox your new desktop. It won't take us long to plug it up and you can finally get started. The 3 of them work together for the next 10 minutes unboxing and plugging up the new desktop on Damien's desk, after which they walk through everything and even play a few games online, only to stop an hour later for dinner. Midnight, Damien's bedroom. After thoroughly testing out the computer and scanning it with his powers while having fun with his parents, Damien now knows the limitations of the computer. Sitting in front of his desk with a box of computer parts next to him, he starts using his powers to design a supercomputer using all the parts and components he gathered using his new computer as the base. All the while keeping the same outer appearance and working the same unless his powers are used to command the operating system to switch. Damien ***, now I have to concentrate. I want a supercomputer that has super fast processing speed, 100 petabytes of memory, the ability to detect and connect to all other electronic/digital/radio transmissions, expand the range of its detection/connection, able to have a hidden operating system accessible only by my powers, and keep the original appearance it had. But with the parts one have, those systems will be limited. I only have enough materials to have 50 terabytes, a connection/detection range of 30 miles, and a processing speed of 1 terabyte per 2 minutes installed. Asterisk. While Damien was imagining all of these specs for his new computer, he was using his abilities to design a computer that had all the specs he wanted. Not only that, but all the parts in the box and the computer itself started floating up in front of him. Slowly the computer separated completely to its base parts, and the electronics in the box broke down to their base components. Soon those parts flowed together, morphing and changing the computer parts in a major way. Finally, the leftover parts went back to the box, and the computer slowly put itself back together. Damien there. Now that that's done, I now have a computer I can use to further my plans. Asterisk, now that I have this computer, I can use it as practice for my hacking by using my powers to simulate hacking the computer, and at the same physically code to defend the system. I'm going to use all forms of hacking and practice the use and defense of viruses with the system as well. So let's get started. Asterisk. Damien, now having less than a year to become an experienced and super advanced hacker, now spends his nights learning and practicing all forms and methods of hacking. Because of his advanced intelligence, it takes little to no effort to integrate his knowledge of programming to do so. Soon becoming able to slowly create his own virus/hacking protection software and become fluent enough to hack into less secure systems without detection. But these improvements happen over the course of several months. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Rumors of Upgrade. 2 months later, spending his time late at night on learning and practicing every known hacking and virus creation/defense program, Damien became adept in the skill within 2 months, during which time he had practiced using his new computer, his parents' computers, and the computers at school. All the hacks and viruses he created were just harmless things that were fixed after 2 hours or by restarting the systems. Within that time, he was able to hack into public systems with little to no security without detection. But using his powers, he was able to enhance his skills and able to get into the less secure private systems for small companies. So he continued to practice, and every time his hacking skills advanced, he would make new programs and improve all the backdoors and hidden viruses planted in many systems/servers. At midnight, now December 15th, Damien was finally skilled enough to hack into the Bank of America and created a bank account for himself. This checking and savings account was under his name, social, and everything. This account was hacked to make it seem as if he was a legal adult in the system. He also was able to hack into the bank accounts of various drug dealers, human traffickers, and murderers, giving himself a starting budget of $10,000. He was even nice enough to gather all the evidence needed to arrest those same criminals while giving the credit to good cops that don't take bribes and bend the law. These 18 criminals that Damien helped put away, and took a negligible amount of money from, helped make the career of 25 cops in New York City. While his way of contacting these officers involved hacking electronic devices they were using while alone, and only giving them the info needed and a name to refer to. The name he told them was Upgrade, followed by a black and green circular symbol with 2 inverted triangles vertically centered inside. Think Omnitrix symbol. Using his knowledge of the Marvel world, it was easy for Damien to remember the names of a lot of crooks that were captured easily or had no effect on the storyline, while at the same time he knew of a few truly heroic cops in New York City as well, which is how the name Upgrade spread after reporting to their superiors how they got their info. With his startup capital, Damien used his powers to invest in the stock market. Being connected to the system, he knew down to the millisecond when stocks started to drop in value, allowing him to turn $10,000 into $100,000 within 2 months. During that time period, he was also researching stocks and the stock market, becoming a great trader within a month. Also looking up the different companies and programs currently in use to the general public. Outside the $100,000 in profits, he still had enough to buy a 1% share of LinkedIn and looked forward to the launch of MySpace, Facebook, and the streaming platforms in the years to come. Now August 11, 2003, Damien sits in class, reviewing his progress while the teacher is lecturing. He now has $1 million in profits from the stock market, and that's not counting the money he put into buying shares of LinkedIn, MySpace, Disney, and a few other companies as well. Using his powers, he is now able to connect to 10 devices all at once while 100 miles away from them. He is a 7-year-old able to lift 200 pounds without breaking a sweat. And his mindscape has further strengthened, making the maze harder to navigate, strengthening the barriers, and increasing the amount of knowledge he can store. Due to new computer access over the past 10 months, Damien was able to study engineering, electronic systems, chemistry, biology, and some medical knowledge. All of which to an intermediate level at least. His hacking has even advanced to such a level that the Pentagon isn't able to detect his breach in security. He even continued to help the police with his hacking and spread his name by helping officers across New York in getting evidence against criminals that won't affect the storyline, while at the same time recording and storing evidence of major criminals that affect the MCU storyline. Damien *** to think after all this time I will finally be able to begin my plans and start preparing for my debut as a hero. First things first, I have 4 major tasks that have to be done tonight, and doing so will make things a lot easier for me. The first task is to use his powers to hack into Stark Industry systems, and get a copy of Jarvis's base code and use it to create an AI of his own. Second is to hack into the systems of every computer owned by known villains and their future accomplices. Third is to hack into the computer systems of all future heroes and S.H.I.E.L.D. while at the same time using the AI to track and monitor all the important people. The fourth and final task is to use my finds to create a base of operation for my future hero career, and a new more advanced supercomputer and network system for my AI to run at the most optimal state without detection. This is going to be a long and exhausting night. Thinking that Damien sighs aloud, interrupting the teacher in the middle of his explanation about fractions. Teach Mr. Shade, if class is so boring, why don't you tell the class the answer to the problem on the board? Damien thinks back and recalls the professor was using a circular diagram to represent a pizza with 6 slices, and was describing what would happen if 2 were eaten. Looking back at the teacher, Damien started to answer the question in a dull tone. Damien if 2 slices were eaten from the pizza, then there would only be 4/6 of the pizza left. And when simplified, there will be only 2/3 of the pizza left for everyone else. The teacher and his classmates look at him stupefied. Teacher yes, that's correct. Well class, let's continue on with the lesson. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Operation Alfred. Later that night. 11 p.m. Damien's bedroom. Laying down in his bed, Damien meditates on all the knowledge he ever gained on programming, hacking, and the use of his powers. He reviews all his experiences, all the training, and his self-created hacking techniques as well. Then he reviews his powers, his abilities to control/command machines, and connect to many. Also his discovery of linking multiple computers together with himself as the network. Being able to transfer through that network as well. Damien okay, this is going to be the most difficult hack I have ever performed. Not only do I have to get into the Stark Industries network, but I must then use that to connect with Stark's private server. Then I have to sift through the data and find Jarvis' main program with the core. Afterwards I have to download and transfer the data without getting tracked. Once all the AI programs are saved on my computer, I then have to isolate Jarvis so that he can't escape or interact with anything on my supercomputer. All the while, remaining undetected so as to not draw attention to myself. This is going to be a pain in the ass. Even though he was thinking all of this, Damien knew that with his powers a lot of his effort would be spared. Damien then sat on his bed, crossing his legs, to get in a meditative pose. He then focused his mind and reached out with his powers. He then scanned through all electronic devices in the general direction that Stark Industries was from him. After finally connecting to a computer with a high security clearance 15 minutes later, Damien slowly connected to his supercomputer as well as making sure that the two were separated and had no connection to each other whatsoever. By doing so he can use himself as an intermediary and prevent his computer from being tracked when he downloads Jarvis. He then slowly commanded the computer to connect to the Stark server where Jarvis was connected. Damien now that I'm in the system, I have to sift through the network and find Jarvis. I'll make a small virus that looks through data and sends copies of simple weapon blueprints to a library computer. That will be deleted permanently from the library computer the moment it is downloaded. I then wait and observe what the system does to the virus I released into it. The system detected the anomaly quickly, and there was a huge program that isolated and started dissecting the virus. Jarvis was in the middle of dissecting my virus when I used my powers to scan the system and find his program. Using my programming knowledge, I was able to quickly search for the core parts of his AI programming. I used my connection and understanding of programming to read through Jarvis' core program, and reading and understanding how it was written and what each part does, while at the same time using my connection to my personal supercomputer to copy Jarvis code in an isolated virtual space in the computer. Once Damien was halfway through copying all of Jarvis' code, the AI finished taking apart his virus and realized that it originated inside the system. Jarvis started searching all over the Stark systems to find the point of origin. Knowing his time was limited, he increased his speed in copying Java source code, and just finished when 1 millisecond later Jarvis discovered the company computer Damien was connected to was the source. Damien then worked overtime to copy as much of the data on Jarvis and his functions as possible to the isolated virtual space. But finding the link to Damien Jarvis would also discover his programming being viewed. So Damien used this time to mentally copy all he could read about Jarvis and his functions before covering his track and severing the connection to Stark Industries in 1/4 of a second after Jarvis discovered the computer he was connected to. Even though this all took a while to explain, in all actuality it took a total of 5 minutes from the moment he connected to Stark Industries to the moment he was discovered and severed the connection. Damien I need to hurry and copy the rest of the program to the isolated space and see how much of Jarvis I got. Using my enhanced memory of reading through his programming, I can fill in a few of the gaps. But on the plus side, I was able to read through his source code and understand how Jarvis' program works. But even with all this, it will take a while to make my own AI. It looks like I got all of Jarvis' source program, and that's basically a program that allows artificial intelligence to think for itself and to constantly learn new knowledge. This program is also set so that its sole purpose is to help Tony Stark. So if I make a new AI with this source code, I can basically change it to where its sole purpose is to help me while also placing more limitations on it. But at the same time, I'm going to have to include knowledge of various other things and set other restrictions on it so that I can safely teach it and at the same time control its growth. I don't want a Terminator or iRobot situation where it determines that humans must die. Asterisk. The first thing that Damien does is add all he saw in Jarvis's code. He starts to copy the files and everything he can about Jarvis code. Then starts a virtual environment and watches how the code interacts with the virtual system on the computer. Using his enhanced mind, his knowledge about programming, and a little bit of information he knows about artificial intelligence, he starts to study Jarvis's code and all his functions. Then using his enhanced mind, he starts to scan the code for flaws, or deficiencies in the code and possible ways to improve the code as well. Even looking at all the knowledge Jarvis has about certain aspects, such as business, law, programming, science, chemistry, mathematics, engineering, mapping and geography, people interaction, etc. Damien then has all his advanced knowledge about all forms of programming, viruses, and hacking creation, detection/protection. By doing this, he was able to further improve the level of programming for the AI, and at the same time increased his defense against viruses and hacking attempts. I then went through the program and completely wiped Tony Stark from his memory, and then made myself the owner of the core program. I was also able to go through it to see the level of access people had to the program and kept a system in place, but at the same time I made it to where I had complete and sole access and control to the AI. And only I could give and take away access at all levels. Just for fun, Damien even changed the name of the core program to Alfred and changed the voice to one similar to Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., the original Alfred from the animated series. After the countless tests, modifications, additional functions and information, Damien finally finishes his own personal AI. At 4 a.m. he finally decides everything is secure and stable enough to activate Alfred in the virtual space and see if it acts similar to but better than Jarvis. Alfred - Good morning, sir. Is there any way I can be of service? Damien ***. His program is running faster and more efficient than Jarvis at the moment. Let's see if he can access the system. Alfred, tell me the time, date and current location based on your system's info. Alfred - Sir, it is currently 4:02 a.m. on August 12, 2003. This system's last known location is in New York City, New York. More specifically in Queens, New York, sir. Damien ***, looks like everything is running fine, so let's test his priorities. So what is your primary function? Also state your new role. Alfred - My primary function and role is to assist you in all your endeavors, making your life easier, and protecting you and your family as your virtual butler, sir. Damien ***, even while connecting to the system and using my powers to scan the code, everything is working as expected. Next is to give him limited access and to make a permanent server for him ***. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. A New Beginning. As Damien thinks about that, he goes to his closet and pulls out a box of old electronics parts. The parts in this box have increased from last time, even including things like modems, electric watches, and other components of PCs. Closing his eyes, Damien thinks about the two things he currently needs. Right now he needs an advanced server with an unprecedented amount of processing speed and memory. He also needs a small, durable, and concealed supercomputer that he can carry around at all times. Looking into the box and doing inventory on all the stuff he has collected over the past year, he begins to let his powers design the two devices while further specifying what he needs them to do. Even though his mind is enhanced, the best results would come from letting his mechanical intuition and technological constructs abilities take over. Meaning Damien uses the technological intuition part of his abilities to build advanced tech without fully understanding how the tech was made and why it works. Using his abilities, Damien first makes the server for Alfred. He makes a metal box 10 inches by 10 inches by 4 inches that is seamless. This server somehow has a built-in chargeable battery, with a 12-hour battery life. The ability to connect to any known network. I'm talking about Wi-Fi/radio/infrared/satellite. Things like that. An advanced firewall and network security. This server is also undetectable with the technology of today. Also having 10 petabytes of memory and a processing speed of 1 terabyte a second. After the server was completed, the watch floated in front of Damien and separated into its smallest parts. His powers then started to make miniature computer parts and other components to make a seamless digital watch. The watch itself is durable under 500 pounds, waterproof, and automatically adjusts to the size needed for the wearer. A direct connection to the server within 10,000 miles. Built-in GPS, a direct connection to the supercomputer in his room, and had a terabyte of memory storage. The watch also had holographic projection and hard light projections. This watch face had the time, date, and a backlight/nightlight/flashlight. The watch itself had 3 buttons. One for the light, one to switch from time to date, and a third for a stopwatch/timer, making it seem even more like a normal digital watch. Although at the same time, the watch was a computer. This supercomputer could be accessed through the holographic projector or with Damien's powers. The inner computer could also be used to control the watch and its functions. Opening his eyes, Damien looks at the 2 devices in front of himself, admiring the work of his powers while connecting to them to figure out how they work. Afterwards, he put the watch on his left wrist and tucked the server in his closet and plugged it into an outlet. Then, after triple-checking the security and the limitations and control protocols in place, he proceeded to move Alfred's main program to the server. Damien-Alfred. I want you to run a diagnostics on the systems of your new server and let me know if there are any issues running your program. Alfred-, right away, sir. Beginning diagnostic. All systems operational and efficiency is 230% compared to the previous system. How else can I be of assistance, sir? Damien-, for now all I want is for you to learn everything you can about law, creating and maintaining a business, and practice your hacking with me. Once he has Alfred start researching those topics, Damien begins to virtually go through all the steps necessary to start a new business, using his hacking skills and powers to speed up the process. Chapter 9. Looking to the future. Alfred began looking up the designated file and began his search for the people on the list. Every person on the list had at least some basic info and a picture of what they would look like at some point. Pictures generated from the MC's memory of the characters. Then, after downloading the list, Alfred began using every means possible to locate, track and monitor the people on the list, being extra cautious in the monitoring of certain people as noted in the info. He began to search through pictures online, government databases, emails, phone calls/texts, and used references in the file about each and every person to find and continue monitoring them. Alfred, sir, I have begun the search and will begin tracking and monitoring all the people in the file. I have already located 15 and will continue. Damien, that's great, Alfred. Although you should be wary of those on the list with technological prowess. Only monitor them indirectly unless told otherwise. Alfred, of course, sir. I will make sure to do so. Is there any other way I can be of assistance, sir? Damien-, just make sure that Wayne Industries is owned by the identity I made for Bruce Wayne. Once you finish, that will be all, Alfred. Looking over at the clock, Damien realizes it is now 4:20 a.m. on Tuesday, August 12th. Stretching and getting ready for bed, Damien begins to think of his next steps for the future. I am pretty sure that I'll be fine with just 2 hours of sleep tonight. I still need to rest my mind after using my powers that strenuously for so long. My next step is to figure out how I am going to start up Wayne Industries. But these are all thoughts for the morning. Yawning one last time. Damien slowly falls asleep. 6:10 am, later morning, Damien's room. Slowly stirring awake, Damien slowly starts his morning exercise routine, mentally thanking the GOC for his healing factor, which allowed him to feel well rested even with only 2 hours of sleep. Over the next 30-minute, Damien slowly completes part of the legendary workout, only doing 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and 50 squats as he clears his mind to think of what his next steps are. Damien-**, now what I need to do is find a way to get the junkyard and then start a recycling plant. Using my powers, I can make a recycling plant more efficient and allow for the recycling of other materials as well, making other materials like glass and silicon recyclable as well. These plants would also be a good resource for materials in the future. It would also be a start to Wayne Industries making money. Alfred, I want you to spend the day doing research on all the information about recycling plants and how they run. Schematics of facilities, machines used, and lists of all known recycled materials along with the processes used. Alfred, I will add this to the current tasks. When would you like the report, sir? Damien-, get all the info you can without getting detected and have them sent to my watch. I also want you to look up possible land to start a recycling plant, and/or plants that are closing/being sold. Alfred-, I will make sure to have the information for you as soon as possible. Damien-, thanks for the help, Alfred. After saying those final words, Damien went to the kitchen to have breakfast with his family before going to school. He spends the day practicing hacking with Alfred. They each took turns attacking the virtual machine that was in the supercomputer of his watch, while the other defended. Damien's enhanced intelligence allows him to split his mind and be able to practice and learn with Alfred, while at the same time reading the info about recycling plants Alfred sent him, and going through school like a normal student. Reviewing the information, Damien realized that it isn't that hard to start a recycling plant, and that he could even start a small one soon. Damien *** with all the things happening in the future. I know 4 major things that I'll need. 1 will be to make Wayne Industries a top company and spread its influence to many countries. 2 is to make a secret base for heroes and possibly teleportation point to said facility. 3 is to gather the resources to make all the tech and equipment my hero persona will use. And 4th is the freedom and time to take advantage of my powers and knowledge to best accomplish my goals. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Unexpected Accomplice. 2 weeks later, 8/29/2003. On this Friday afternoon, Damien is at the movies with some friends from school. While there, he split his mind and used one half to have fun and enjoy the time he was having with his friends. The other half was using the supercomputer in his watch to hack into the nearby businesses and companies to check security and test himself. While doing so, he happened to find the most interesting thing. There was a company called Enron that had an office downtown about 5 miles from the movie theater. Enron was an energy company, and this was its corporate headquarters. As he hacked into their system, there didn't seem to be anything wrong on the surface. But there was one computer that had a disguised folder with evidence of accounting fraud. The person using this computer just happened to be the secretary of the CEO, Mercy Graves. Mercy was a 24-year-old who had been working for the company for nearly a year now. Since joining, she had been very ambitious and made many proposals and plans to make the company more efficient. After a certain point, she was basically taking care of the business while the CEO, Kenneth Lay, dealt with the financial, the shareholders, and business partners. But she started to see things in the financials didn't add up. So Mercy started to investigate on her own. Damien ***, it looks like she has some real experience running a company. I think I should check and see what kind of person she is. Using his powers, he sends a message to Alfred for him to do a background check and see who Mercy is and what kind of person she is. Reading the information about Mercy, Damien was able to find out a few things about her. She graduated top of her class in business and management with a master's. She has worked for 3 different companies in management positions and has improved them. She has a red belt in karate and started training in taekwondo last month. She volunteers at the homeless shelter twice a month. Going back through her records, it shows that she always tried to do the right thing for the people. Damien ***, this is interesting. She has the potential to do a lot. Looking through the systems of Enron, he found that Kenneth Lay was onto her. He knew that she was snooping around the company's files and financials. Afraid that she would find his secret and that she would reveal everything, he had people follow her and see what she knows. Damien ***, she is doing the right thing, but she is going to get herself killed if she keeps going this way. Maybe I should help her out a bit. Thinking this, Damien goes through the computer system and copies all the files showing evidence of the fraud, along with the factual info on what the financials of Enron actually are, along with a message and a certain set of instructions. Enron building, same time. Inside her office at the Enron building is Mercy Graves. Currently sitting behind her computer, Mercy was searching the company files to see if she could find the evidence she was looking for. Mercy ***, I know that the financial reports are falsified somehow. I just need to find the proof. Maybe it's somewhere in the system. Just as she was about to open another document to search for discrepancies, a message popped up on her screen. You are right about the false financial reports, but if you stay in the company, you won't live past a week. If you want the truth to come out, I could help, but from now on you work for me. Will you agree? Y/N. Mercy ***, what is this? What is going on? If this person is telling the truth, then I must be onto something big, but what can I do? Struggling with her thoughts, she doesn't know what to do. Just the thought of getting the truth and putting a stop to these false financial reports that are hurting everyone involved in the company made her agree. Hitting the Y button on the keyboard. The next thing she knew, there was a new folder on the desktop screen. When she opened it, she saw all the files and information on everything fraudulent in the company. Then a new message popped up. Download this file to 2 new USPs. Then leave and turn this in to the police, and the second you will take home and email a copy to the SEC, stands for the Securities and Exchange Commission, as soon as possible. After you get home, you will pack your belongings and go to the nearest hotel for the next week. Your boss is after your life and knows that you are close to the truth. Shocked that she was found out, Mercy begins to do just as instructed and heads home before anyone knows what's going on. Making it home 20 minutes later and starting to get packed. Once finished, she sends an email to the SEC to an address she found on their website with all the evidence attached to it. Just as she was getting ready to relax, a message pops up on her laptop screen. The part that freaks her out is that it was similar to the messages on her office computer. Grab your stuff and leave your apartment now, Mercy. You have 5 minutes before your boss's hired guns get to your place. Leave through the back of the building for the safest route. Make sure to bring your computer with you and I will contact you about your new job soon. Chapter 11. Chapter 11. A New Boss. 7:36 p.m. August 29, 2003. Mercy Graves' apartment. Mercy looks at her watch, noticing the time, and begins to question the person on the other side of the message. She grabs her stuff and puts it by the door. She then moves to the window of her apartment. Looking outside, she tries to see if there are any cars parking outside her building and tries to confirm the legitimacy of the message. Currently, there is nothing out of the ordinary outside. Mercy - I think I'm going crazy. First I find signs of fraud, and then just as I am close to finding evidence, I get random messages popping up on my screen. Going home with evidence that just appeared from nowhere is one thing, but for this person to make me leave home for a week, I would be crazy to trust this person completely. As she continues to question everything that has happened the last 30 minutes, she sees a black sedan pull up outside her building. A car she has never seen in the neighborhood before, and parked right in front of the entrance. Just as Mercy begins to regret doubting the voice, she receives a text on her phone. Looking down at the screen, she is surprised to see a message in the same format as earlier on her phone. They should be walking into your building now. You need to grab your things and go to the storage closet on the floor beneath you. You shouldn't doubt my info again. Once you get to the supply closet, wait for my signal and then you can leave as soon as possible out the back door. Receiving the new message, Mercy sighs in relief and grabs her packed bags. Then rushes to the stairs so she can reach the supply closet on the floor below her. Heart racing and adrenaline pumping. Mercy waited impatiently for the message so that she could get to safety as quickly as possible. They just left the elevator for your floor. Take the stairs to the ground floor and exit through the back door. Call a taxi and ride 2 blocks away from the hotel and use an ATM to withdraw as much cash as you will need. For the next week you have to use cash and can't use your credit/debit cards or ID. Type the name of the hotel you're going to for the week and I will take care of the rest. Complying with the orders given in the message. She was then told that when she gets to the hotel to check in, that she should say that she is a guest of Mr. Wayne. Although Mercy was confused about the orders, she was at least relieved to finally have a name to go with the mysterious messages. She then begins to hail a taxi as she hears police sirens in the distance. 10 minutes later, the taxi finally drove her 2 blocks from the hotel she was planning to stay at for the rest of the week. After stopping by an ATM, she finally made it to the hotel. She went to the reception desk and did as told, stating that she was a guest of Mr. Wayne. The concierge then smiled brightly and ordered someone to carry her bags and lead her to her room. Of course, Mercy was further surprised to find out that the hotel room she received was the executive suite. Putting down her bags and getting relaxed, she finally has time to think about everything that's happened today. Then pulls out her computer and begins to thoroughly read through the evidence and files that were given to her earlier. 2 hours later, 10:18 p.m. Mercy ***, even though I agreed to this earlier, I never had the chance to really read through everything that Kenneth was doing with the company's financials. Looking over everything now in this file, it shows that if things were to continue, the shareholders and customers will lose a lot of money. While Kenneth was stealing tens of millions of dollars from the company and the shareholders. If this had continued, the company would also go bankrupt as Kenny would have all of this money hidden to the side, with no one knowing. Hold on a minute. If I stay with the company, then when everything goes bankrupt, this will ruin my credibility and chances of working for a major company in the future. Asterisk. Just as Mercy begins to think about how things will turn out once the scandal is revealed, she starts to see the screen of her computer flicker. On her screen, she starts to see the picture of a man. Think of Ben Affleck as the face of Bruce Wayne. As she looked at the screen confused, the man began talking to her. Now I know you have a lot of questions, but let's start by telling you who I am. My name is Bruce Wayne. You can think of me as your new boss. Chapter 12. Chapter 12. Behind the scenes. 7:12 p.m. Earlier that night. As Damien was hacking into the system, he also hacked into Kenneth Lay's computers and other accounts and systems as well. Seeing a few messages back and forth between him and someone not a part of the company. Damien ***, so it turns out that Kenneth knew that Mercy found out about the false financial reports. He actually hired someone to kill her before she could finish her investigation, ***. Realizing this, Damien changed his message and decided that Mercy would be a great secretary for Wayne Industries. Sending the message, he waits for her reply as he puts her under complete surveillance for her protection, while also monitoring Kenneth and the guys trying to kill Mercy. After she accepts to become his subordinate, he sends her all the evidence and files that incriminate Kenneth, while at the same time telling her to send them to the proper authorities, and keeping a copy for herself. Seeing that she won't be working for Enron after that day, Damien then had her leave and head home so that she could go into hiding. With the movie over, Damien and his friends comment on all the scenes and begin to say their goodbyes. While riding home with his dad, Damien seemed to have fallen asleep. But in actual fact, he was putting his full attention to monitoring the situation with Mercy and the hired guns. Damien-Kenneth just sent Mercy's address to his hired guns, and they are starting to head that way. I need to time this just right so I can get them out of the way and protect Mercy. Thinking that, Damien begins to hack into the police dispatch service network and looks up response times for Mercy's apartment. Also sending a message to Mercy's personal laptop, since she was hesitating to leave. Damien-this should be enough time for them to break into her apartment. I should also make it look like it was a neighbor who called. With this idea in mind, Damien hacked into the dispatch service and made a fake call as a neighbor watching two guys with guns break into the neighbor's apartment, having it go through all the channels so that it would be timed perfectly. As Mercy started to make her way out of her building, the two hired guns had just broken into her apartment and started looking for her. But they had just missed her, and saw that the apartment was empty. The next thing they did was start tearing the place apart to find the files and evidence that would convict their employer, making so much noise in the process that they didn't notice that police sirens were outside the building but cut off shortly afterwards. 5 minutes later, two police officers have the men at gunpoint, telling them to freeze. After a brief struggle, both guys were arrested and on their way to the police station. After dealing with some trouble behind the scenes, he realizes that he is almost home. Getting home and finishing his homework, pretty easy for a teen to finish second-grade assignments, while he waited on Mercy, who had started reading through all the files sent to her more thoroughly for the past 10 minutes. Now at home with more free time, he begins to check the list Alfred sent him on possible attorneys. While the list had narrowed down a bit, it was still in the hundreds. Seeing as there was going to be a new secretary soon, he put off making a decision. Instead, he started to make a new project. Damien-knowing that too much happens to CEOs, companies, and political figures in MCU. I should make a new appearance to be the face of the company. A face to go with the identity of Bruce Wayne. I should make a virtual copy of that face and body that looks as if you are watching a live video. And since I am going to Bruce Wayne, then the best face for that would be the Ben Affleck version. With all the ideas set, he and Alfred begin to make the program. Thinking to the future, he made it so that he could more accurately control the face and facial expressions with a single command of his powers. Then made it so that the hard light function of his watch could even project the face and appearance over his own. He even made a sub-program so that he could record himself and the Bruce Wayne filter would show, even going so far as to perfectly mask his voice and facial expressions in real time. After completing all that over the past hour, he noticed that Mercy just finished reading the info he sent earlier, giving her a moment to comprehend and understand the importance of everything before taking complete control of the computer screen. Using his powers to run the Bruce Wayne program, Damien began to talk to her. Damien/Bruce Wayne - Now I know you have a lot of questions, but let's start by telling you who I am. My name is Bruce Wayne. You can think of me as your new boss. Chapter 13. Opportunity. Looking at the screen, Mercy begins to freak out. The screen, that was just covered in files and documents, now shows a man in a suit sitting behind a desk in some office space. While trying hard to stay as calm as possible, Mercy was barely able to squeeze out a question in her shock. Mercy - What do you mean, new boss? What is going on? Bruce - Before all this started, you said you would work for me if I gave you the financial reports and evidence of Kenneth's fraud. I also got you to safety before his hired guns could do what they were paid for. Speaking of the hired guns, they were arrested shortly after they broke into your apartment. Mercy - And why would you help someone like me? What do you want me for? Knowing that he couldn't tell her that he was testing the limits of his powers and happened to see the hidden folder on her computer, Damien had to lie about why he started helping her. Bruce, honestly, I found out about your situation by coincidence. While looking into the company, I saw there was a hit put on you. Looking further into who you were, I saw that you had potential to help run a major company. And I want you to be my personal assistant and secretary. Still confused about the whole situation, Mercy rethinks his words and finally started to understand some of the things that happened. Mercy - Thanks for saving my life and helping me find the financial report. But how can I work for you? I don't even know what you do or what your company is. Bruce - I am not a good or completely selfless man. I won't go out of my way to save someone when it puts myself and my objectives in jeopardy. But I want to make a company that deals in helping people. New items, tools, and machines for the customers that will help their lives in some way. New jobs and opportunities for those who work for us. The opportunities for the less fortunate that my company will make through donations, grants, scholarships, and programs. That's what I hope to build. But it is not my end goal. This is all a means to an end, but it will be able to possibly save lives in the end. And you will help me to build it up and help make it all possible. Listening to this explanation, Mercy was shocked and skeptical about everything. But as she thought about it, she became amazed by all the possibilities. Mercy ***, if this guy truly means everything he says, this would be an amazing opportunity for me. He also wants me to run the company. I wonder what exactly he wants me to do ***. So what exactly will you have me do? Bruce, publicly you'll be my assistant and then secretary. In private, you'll be managing the company yourself for the most part. I'm a busy man and don't have the time to manage everything. That's where you come in. You will manage everything, but all final decisions will be run through me first. Of course you will be well compensated and have certain safety measures in place. And I already have your first assignment. Here is a list of law firms I've been thinking of affiliating with my company. Take a look and choose one with good morals and won't betray or harm the company. Saying this, Damien sent a file with all the info Alfred gathered on the different attorneys and law firms that he screened. Along with the background info and previous cases they worked in detail. Bruce, the room has been paid for a week's stay, and you have $200 for room service. You should be safe to move back home after this week. Although you will have some cleaning to do when you get there. Take this assignment seriously, because I am expecting great results. After he said that, Bruce's image disappeared from the screen, leaving a stunned Mercy staring at the screen and reviewing the entire conversation in her mind. On the other hand, Damien begins his nightly exercise routine to prepare for bed. Damien *** with how things progress today. Tomorrow is the day that I ***. Chapter 14. Chapter 14. The Reveal. Damien *** with how things progress today. Tomorrow is the day that I tell my parents about my powers. In order for things to go more smoothly, I need more freedom than a normal 8-year-old can normally get. Hopefully talking to my parents will allow me to go places and do all the things I need ***. While thinking that, Damien goes to sleep, wanting to be well rested for the long talk he will have with his parents in the morning. Saturday 8:18 a.m. 8/30/2003. After waking up and finishing his normal exercise routine, Damien had breakfast with his family as usual. Once breakfast was finished, he turned towards his mother and father and decided to speak. Damien **Mom. Dad. I have something very important to tell you both. Jasmine, seeing Damien hesitate, walks over to him and kneels down to his level. Jasmine **, it's okay honey. You can always talk to us, and you can tell us anything. We are here for you, so you can go ahead and tell us. Damien, well, I wanted to tell you something that's hard to believe. For the past year, I have slowly become a little different and I don't know any other way to take it. I found out that I have superpowers. After hearing what he said, Alexander and Jasmine looked at him with doubt, thinking that he was imagining things. But seeing the doubt on his parents' faces, Damien knew that they didn't believe him. Damien **, it started with me feeling like I was connected to something bigger, and that if I just reached out I could touch it. Following that connection, I found that I could command and control technology. As Damien said this, the TV across the room turned on and had a picture of his face and words coming out real time, saying the exact same things and making the same facial expressions. I also was able to heal quickly. My healing factor is also improving and speeding up the more I use it as well. Shocked by what they were seeing, both Alex and Jasmine jumped up and stared back and forth between the television and their son, in disbelief of what they were seeing. Alex **, what's going on, Damien? Is this a joke? How are you doing all this? While asking this, Alexander is contemplating all the different ways his 8-year-old son could accomplish the feats in front of him. Damien **, this is a part of my powers. By connecting to the TV and making it show a video of what I imagine myself saying in real time. I wanted you to see a bit of what I can do to show you some proof that I really have superpowers. After showing what he can do with his powers, Damien sees his parents look at him in confusion. They then turn to look each other in the eyes. After a moment, they both looked back to Damien. Alexander **, Damien, as your parents we will always love you. But the world is a dangerous place. With powers like yours you will be exposed to a lot of bad people and events. As he was talking, Alex joined his wife by the side of their son, putting a hand on his shoulder. Now that you have these powers, we have to make sure that no one finds out what you can do. Jasmine **, but the most important thing is that you don't abuse your powers. You must do the right thing. The real question is, what do you want to do with this amazing ability? Amazed by how accepting his parents were, Damien gains the confidence to tell his parents some of his plans. Damien dash, I want to use my powers to help people. And I kinda already have. Hearing his response, his parents start feeling proud. But then after hearing that he has already been using his powers for others, they get worried. Feeling worried for their son, angry he did things behind their back, and anxious of the idea that he would get caught, they begin to speak up. Jasmine dash, what did you do, Damien? Alex dash, you're going to tell us anything right now. Shocked and surprised about their reactions, Damien looks down, not looking them in the eyes. He begins to nervously fidget as he begins to tell them most of the stuff he's done since he got his powers. Chapter 15. Chapter 15. The truth will set you free. After explaining his powers to his parents, Damien begins to tell his parents about what he has been doing with his powers and what he wants to do in the future. He went on to explain his daily training of his powers. Then about how he used his powers to make money fixing things, even though his parents thought he was doing that on his own. Then about how he was able to later learn different programming languages and hacking skills. He told them about using his hacking skills to help the police and how he found out about a lot of evil people and organizations because of it. Damien dash, because of my powers I was able to learn a lot of information and learned of organizations doing horrible things. That's why I want to become a hero. To help the people. And to do that I wanted to start a business to gain enough money to support my expenses as a hero. Shocked by all the news about their son's past actions, Damien's parents stare at their son in amazement. Proud of the good he has done, impressed by his dreams, and still worried of what could happen in the future. Jasmine looked at her son in both shock, pride, and worry. She realized that with his future plans, Damien will be in constant danger. But she knew that, regardless of how she would like things to be normal, Damien's life would never be normal. She was just thankful that even with all the amazing things her son could do, he was able to come to her and her husband about everything. Alex dash, before we agree to anything, I want to ask you something. Did you think this through completely? You said you helped the police a bit, but do you know how evil and terrifying people can be? This isn't like the heroes in your TV shows. Being a hero can get you killed, injured, or worse. You can end up seeing things no person should in this peaceful day and age. Are you really going to prepare for that? Listening to his dad, Damien begins to remember all the evil things he ever heard of or saw in the Marvel world. The human trafficking, mind control and brainwashing, human experimentation, mass murder, and everything else. Closing his eyes, he thinks about all the things that happened and all the things that will happen. Then he thought about what he would do when he stumbled upon those dark situations. Damien dash asterisk, am I really able to be a true hero? Will I be able to handle seeing all those different situations? Asterisk. After thinking for a moment, Damien turns towards his father and finally looks up. Damien dash no. I don't think I am ready for all of that. But I know I will one day. I have plenty of time to prepare and train for it. So please help me and let me be a hero one day. Hearing Damien start, Alex was a little surprised, but he expected that from a child. But then as Damien continued, he was shocked. Then he became even more proud of his son. Looking Damien in the eyes, he saw just how determined his child was to help others and right the wrongs of many. Alex dash, I can agree to allowing you to help others. Even to train your powers and help you prepare for some of your future plans. But about you being a hero, I can only allow that under certain conditions. Jasmine smiled at her husband and then looked at her son. Jasmine dash, before you even think of becoming a hero, you should train and figure out what you can do. Besides, you can't be everywhere at once and need the tools and equipment too. Alex dash, your mother is right. First you need to learn to protect yourself. So that means you need to learn martial arts. Then there are equipment, tools, and facilities you will need as a hero too. So until you have the training, facilities to safely conduct your hero activities, and the equipment you need for hero work, you will have to wait. Until you get all of those things, you will be helping out only through the network like you did before. Jasmine dash, although we can't do much, we will help you with everything we can. So you have to promise us that regardless of what happens, you will be open with us about the hero work you do. And you won't be starting any hero work without getting our approval first. Happy and excited about his parents' response, Damien jumped into a group hug. After 3 hours of explanations and discussion, the family finally relaxed and sat back down. But as they were sitting at the kitchen table, curiosity got the better of them and Alex had an interesting thought. Alex dash, so Damien, what else can you do with your ability? Answering his question, Damien spent the rest of the day demonstrating his powers by fixing all the broken electronics in the house, and even making a few interesting gadgets out of trash devices and spare parts. All the while having fun with his parents, and finally relaxing. knowing he no longer has to be so secretive and being able to share a bit of his burden with his parents as well. Chapter 16. Chapter 16. Looking to the future. Damien ended up spending the rest of the day showing his parents all the things he can do with his powers at the moment. He ended up increasing the security on all web devices in the house, enhancing the Wi-Fi connection. While he was at it, he even went around and used his powers to disassemble and completely repair all the old electronics in the house. Doing so impressed his parents and made them happy they wouldn't have to replace them. They even had an extensive talk about what he needs to do to prepare to become a hero. His parents even suggested that he not work alone. And although he told his parents about his activities, he didn't tell them his alter ego. He decided that even though they will know he will become a hero, he will keep his identity a secret from them until his secrets and family can be protected. Before going to sleep for the night, Damien had many ideas about what he should do to further protect his family now that they were aware of what he can do. Damien then spent the next few days upgrading the security in the house and digitally for his family. While at the same time he continued communications with Mercy and was able to get a legal team assigned for Wayne Industries. After getting a response from the family owning the junkyard, negotiations were able to get started for the purchase of the company. 3:22 p.m. September 3, 2003. Mercy Graves' apartment. A few days later, Mercy was able to see the news on the TV back in her apartment about her ex-boss and his hitmen being arrested. She was skeptical when she received a message earlier that morning saying it was safe to go home. Although after seeing how everything was tossed, she was glad that Mr. Wayne told her to spend her days looking for a new place to live. Continuing to pack her things, she wonders about the future of the new Wayne Industries. Just yesterday, the boss asked her to have the legal team prepare to buy some land and all necessary documentation for the start of a new subsidiary named Wayne Waste Disposal. He wanted to use the land to create a recycling plant that, in conjunction with junkyard in the middle of negotiation, he plans to cut back American waste by efficiently recycling all sorts of used materials. Mercy ***, I'm starting to get excited about this. This new company already has some plans to start 2 other subsidiaries. While at the same time, Mr. Wayne has told me about future plans to participate in many non-profit organizations to help people once the company is self-sufficient. I wonder what is going to happen next. Chapter 17. Chapter 17. 6 years, 6:30 a.m. February 10, 2009. Shade House. He was thinking about the memories of past achievements and other events that happened over the past 6 years. Damien got dressed for school. A lot has happened over the last 6 years. Wayne Industries was able to build its first corporate building after 8 months with many adjustments made secretly. Also able to make a name for itself and its subsidiary companies after 2 years. Wayne Waste became a well-known recycling center that sells the recycled materials to manufacturers and industrial plants. Due to the success in New York, many more recycling centers were being made through major junctions in the U.S., and waste was being transported to the centers for processing. Wayne Securities was able to make jobs for retired veterans, allowing them to work as a security agency. Most hired veterans were those honorably discharged, retired, and even a few dishonorable discharged veterans were able to work for them after intensive research was done on the reason for their discharge. They did jobs such as security guards, security engineers, bodyguards, and a select few work as mercenaries for secret missions assigned to the team. Wayne Technologies was able to make a lot of money for the company due to the many different patents that Damien and the employees submitted. The many appliances and household items they created were made by a third party and sold all over. The employees even get 10% royalties for all the patents the company uses for products. Wayne Research was started 1 year ago, and they started with research for the safety of Wayne security employees. They researched bulletproof materials, communications devices, and security systems for clients. At the same time having other projects on the side. Wayne Medical was just started a few months ago and is just gathering and giving donations to failing and impoverished hospitals and clinics across the U.S. But all these achievements are just things that happen to Wayne Industries. Damien has been busy as well, learning multiple martial arts from real studios across New York. Although he doesn't advance far or fast to not raise suspicion, he does watch the advanced classes as well and masters everything before moving on. He also was able to learn almost all common languages spoken in major countries around the world, and a few dead languages as well. He spent time learning a lot of new subjects over the past 6 years to help with his future as a hero and CEO. He learned forensic science, medical, law, business, economics, and cryptography. While learning each subject, he followed a few cases from the past and present to learn the thought process of people in each field, seeing examples of how to use all the skills learned and getting practice as well. Damien was even able to make a few things that helped to keep his identity as Wayne Industries CEO a secret, while at the same time, started the build of his own secret base and hideout. doing so by using spare parts and materials from the recycling plants and other sources. In the shadows, Damien was able to secretly save and recruit many people who were about to be killed or betrayed, and kept them at the secret base to continue their work for the better of people. Some of those people were able to be saved and prevented from being future villains. Knowing what's about to happen in the next few days to Tony Stark, Damien begins to enact his plans and starts to send out surveillance drones of different types to keep track of the activities of Tony, Pepper Potts, and Obadiah Stane, recording important conversations and scanning all technologies around them. While keeping surveillance on them, the drones will also hack into all computer systems they use and leave a back door for Alfred to check info. This is going to be the start of everything. If I play my cards right, I'll be able to prepare for the future and also be able to get a major advancement in the tech I use. The next few months will be hectic. Chapter 18. Getting ahead, 6:42 a.m. February 10, 2009. Shade House finished with his morning routine, and on his way to the kitchen, Damien finishes his thoughts. After greeting his parents, Damien sits at the kitchen table with his family. Done with his breakfast, Damien heads to school. Now finishing the last semester of his 8th grade year. Through school, Damien has made a few friends and keeps up appearances as a regular 12-year-old. While enjoying being a normal kid, he also uses his powers to split his attention and manage the company at the same time. 3 years ago, with materials gained from the super-efficient recycling plant he modified, he was able to build a synthoid robot with the appearance of Bruce Wayne. That synthoid usually stays in the apartment building built, and modified by Wayne Industries. This synthoid was a blank sub-AI to Alfred. He was programmed to be obedient to Damien and follow instructions given by Alfred. Given all the information and knowledge needed to run the company, and at the same time had a direct connection to Damien's smartwatch computer. Also programmed with all the mannerisms Damien wanted for Bruce Wayne, while at the same time knowing beforehand what it was, and that its purpose was to help Damien in running a truly caring and legal company. This Bruce Wayne synthoid has allowed Damien to manage and control the company without having to risk being discovered. Knowing that the next few days will be the start of everything in the MCU picking up, Damien has spread his nanobot drones even further, gathering more information on all Hydra agents across the world, inhumane government experiments, and honorable scientists around the world that are being plotted against. His was first sending a nano drone, disguised as a fly, into Camp Lehigh. This drone was unconnected from any network and had 2 separate hard drives installed, one of which was used to contain the programs and instructions for the drone to follow. The other was an isolated drive that was made to be able to copy all files and programs of any device connected to it without being detected. This drone was made to sneak into the camp and download all programs of all devices on the facility with its ghost drive, effectively giving Damien a massive backstory on the rebirth of Hydra and a program to track, trace, and detect all Hydra members worldwide. The information he found on the devices will also tell him about Project Paperclip, the program that S.H.I.E.L.D. and the U.S. used to defect Hydra and German scientists into their ranks after the war, even going so far as to track the families of those scientists, which continued to be Hydra sleeper agents. Once its task was completed, the drone proceeded to leave the facility without being detected, and also went directly to Damien's private base hidden under New York City. An hour later, the drone could be seen flying across the room in a subterranean tunnel. This room was the main area of Damien's private HQ. This facility was made in a previously demolished subway tunnel. Years prior, this tunnel was demolished and sealed in order to facilitate the building of multiple skyscrapers above at a later date. Finding this information, Damien then proceeded to erase and mask all knowledge and information of that tunnel and the area around it, while at the same time expanding the tunnel and creating a facility for his future hero activity. He plans for this facility to have its own training rooms and research labs for his own personal convenience, with other additions to make the facility more convenient as a secret hideout and a secure safe house as well. Flying through the tunnels, the drone makes multiple turns, finally ending up in a room 10 by 10 in size. The only thing that is kept in this room is a pedestal, directly in the middle, on top of which is a black cube. This cube was basically a supercomputer with its own internal battery system with modules that support future upgrades. This cube was also facilitated with its home holographic projector, and made in such a way that it cannot receive or send signals of any kind. This stationary device only had one port in which data can only be input but never exported. The drone flies to the top of the cube and lands on the solitary corner and docks into the only port for the cube. With that, the cube comes to life and begins to flash in blue lights. 5 minutes later, the drone flies off, going to the research lab, promptly flying into the molecular forge, destroying itself and refining its materials. But left in the solitary room was that black box with blue lights flashing all around. Slowly its holographic projector comes to life as the face of a once-dead hydro scientist begins to form. The face continues to look around the room, wondering what's going on as it questions what happened to it. But the answers to its questions weren't able to be found in the empty white room it found itself in. 9:25 p.m. February 10, 2009. Star Lab, secret base under construction. In the middle of a huge metal room could be seen a young man fighting hand-to-hand with a masked assailant. Looking to be no older than 14 years old, wearing shorts and a tank top. The young man is using all sorts of martial arts and different combinations of fighting techniques against an assailant twice his size. Ducking under a punch and landing in a crouching posture. The young man sweeps the legs of his assailant and knocks him into the ground. The visage of the masked assailant is slowly distorted like static on a television. Slowly, the masked assailant on the floor transforms into a synthoid robot. The young man slowly got up from his crouching posture, drenched in sweat from his extensive exercise. Damien looking down at one of his creations, a practice robot for his future danger room. He then proceeds to wipe his sweat and walk out of the room to a solitary door. Opening the door, the first thing he sees is the face of a furious German scientist. He then proceeds to hear the face, floating above a cube, questioning him about where he is and what he wants with him. Chapter 19. Chapter 19. The Hidden Plot. 9:34 p.m. February 10, 2009. Star Lab, secret base under construction. From the pedestal in the center of the room, there was a face being projected via hologram, while a voice was heard coming from the cube sitting on it. Zola dash, what is this? Where am I? Do you even know who I am? Damien. Arnim Zola. A German scientist who worked with the Red Skull. Damien walks further into the room to stand directly in front of the pedestal. Correction. You are Swiss, aren't you? Zola dash, I see my reputation precedes me. Young man, tell me where we are. Damien dash, right now you are in a secret facility. You may have already tried to connect to other devices, but ultimately failed. Your current body consists of a single device with only cameras, speakers, and holographic projection units. Not only that, but you are in an isolated room that is shielded from all signals. Seeing as you will be here for a very long time, how about you tell me about Hydra's current scheme? Damien steps to the front of the holographic face as he talks to Zola. But unknown to Zola, Damien is using his powers to search through his data for all information about Hydra. Slowly searching and copying the data to his watch that houses his disguised supercomputer. Every thought, memory, and information that Zola has about Hydra is slowly being scanned and downloaded. Zola, I'm surprised that you were aware that Hydra still lives. But to tell about the present you must first know the past. Hydra was founded on the belief that humanity could not be trusted with its own freedom. What we did not realize was that if you try to take that freedom, they resist. Zola began his whole speech about how he used S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Project Paperclip as an opportunity to resurrect Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D. like a parasite. Over the past 70 years, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been used to carry out missions and plans made by Hydra agents hidden in their ranks. Gloating about how the time for Hydra to come out of the shadows was almost at hand. And also about how in a few years Damien would see just how great Hydra was. What Zola didn't know was that every memory and piece of info Zola pulled up to gloat made Damien's task even easier. As Zola brought up data from the hard drive to remember, Damien was using his abilities to filter all these files and all connected info to his watch. Everything he copied was then scanned completely by Alfred and then stored on Damien's secure virtual drive in Alfred's server. Zola, nearing the end of his speech, had a smirk on his holographic face as he stared Damien in the eyes. Zola. We will win. And your death will amount to the same as your life. A zero sum. I have given Hydra all the insight they need to complete our goals. But too bad you will be too dead to see it. Hail Hydra. As Zola finishes his speech, the cube on the table starts to overheat. Smoke started to rise from it and the pedestal. Just as Damien takes 2 steps back, the cube explodes, sending shrapnel flying all over the room. Jumping back just in time, Damien lands outside the room while using his ability to quickly close the door. Having landed on the ground, Damien feels sharp pains on his left leg, torso, and right arm. Looking himself over, he sees shrapnel embedded in his leg and arm, while blood is leaking from 3 spots on his abdomen. Sighing, he uses his left hand to yank the shrapnel from his right arm first, then his leg. The wounds heal and seal themselves visibly to the naked eye. Within 20 seconds, the wounds are fully healed as if never there. Damien, * 19 seconds. My healing factor is still too weak. I will have to train more in the future. Good thing Zola likes to hear himself talk. I was able to get almost all the info he had on Hydra, with Project Insight and current sleeper agents as a priority. although there are some questions on a lot of what Hydra did more than 65 years ago. But some spotty info was found from his time with the Red Skull and the beginning of Project Paperclip. This is more than enough to begin preparing for the Hydra takeover. Asterisk. Getting up, Damien slowly stretches and flexes his body but still feels some pains in his abdomen and right arm. Slowly, he walks to another part of the facility. Walking into a giant room filled with all kinds of machines and medical equipment. Inside this med bay, Damien lays down on a metallic table with concentric rings attached around the sides at the base near his feet. Once his head is in place, he closes his eyes. Damien, Alfred. Do a quick scan and assess the damages. Alfred, right away, sir. As Alfred responded, the rings on the base of the bed begin to glow orange and spin as they travel up the bed. As they travel up and across Damien, they flash lights that scan throughout his body. Alfred, there are 2 metallic shards located in your abdomen, metallic splinters in your left leg, and what appears to be a piece of metal embedded in the bone of your right radius, one of the bones found in forearm. Damien, asterisk, that's a lot worse than I thought, asterisk, Alfred. Activate surgical equipment and proceed to remove all the foreign metal. Do not activate sutures and anesthetics. Alfred, right away, sir. I'm locking you in to prevent movement as well. Arms then folded out of the table with lasers and surgical equipment attached. Then shackles closed around Damien's arms and legs. The arms then moved to cut the afflicted areas with lasers. Then the surgical equipment proceeded to remove all the metal and placed it on a metal container for later disposal. Moments later, the procedure was completed. Alfred, sir, the procedure is done. All foreign materials have been removed. You can now start healing yourself. After hearing this, Damien opened his eyes. As he sat up, his wounds slowly began to close up and heal visibly. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. Spreading across the country. 10:43 p.m. February 10, 2009. Star Lab, secret base under construction. As Damien sits up on the table, his wounds are finally closed up. Once healed, he wipes his previously injured areas with sanitized wipes from the surgery tray. Then, using his powers, he begins to review the info from Zola that he copied earlier. While one partition of his mind begins to review the info, he informs Alfred of their next course of action. Damien, Alfred. Send some cleaner and construction bots to take care of the virtual jail cell. Make sure that the room is hit with an isolated EMP for 10 minutes before the bots begin cleaning and repair. Make sure all the materials and bots that leave the room are sent to the molecular forge to be melted down and reconstructed immediately. I'm now uploading diagnostics and system logs from the virtual containment unit. Find what allowed Zola to take control of the CPU, cooling, and power systems. Alfred, right away, sir. The construction and cleaner bots are on the way to the cell. The emergency EMP for the isolated room has already activated and will continue for the next 9 minutes 42 seconds. I am also making sure that all bots, drones, and synthoids will stay clear of all areas leading to the molecular forge and the virtual cell. Would there be anything else to take care of, sir? Finding out that Project Paperclip allowed Hydra agents to recreate their organization through the use of S.H.I.E.L.D. resources wasn't a surprise to Damien. But what surprised him was the list of known double agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. and the families around the world with the closest ties to Hydra. The Insight program made by Zola was also able to use info gathered to determine both known and unknown Hydra agents. Damien - asterisk, it may be early, but using the Insight program and all the info Zola has access to, I can make a few programs that can help in the future. I will have to make a program that monitors Hydra agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. and keep track of all info they access to, along with missions they give or go on. The second program will help identify all Hydra agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. and will be able to control their access to all S.H.I.E.L.D. materials or information, making it so that any time those Hydra agents copy files, the most important info in it will be deleted the moment it is read on any non-S.H.I.E.L.D. devices, while at the same time it will copy all files they delete or edit in the S.H.I.E.L.D. systems, asterisk. While in his thoughts, Damien walks back to the main hall of Star Lab, his hidden base. Looking at the lounge, he walks to a clear section of wall and looks straight ahead, stopping at what would have been the entrance of his sealed base with a smirk. Damien, now for the first official use of my newest invention, upgrade 0 to 1. Send me home. After he says that, red beams scan him completely before a panel of the wall opens up, showing a circular portal coming to life about 10 feet in diameter. Damien then proceeds through the portal only to walk out of the closet in his bedroom, where a door-shaped portal on the back wall loses light the second he walks through. The inch-thick frames of the door-shaped portal then folds into the floor of the closet as if never there. Damien - asterisk, now that teleport tubes are working, I can have construction bots build them in cities all around the world. But first I need to get started on the programs and a few side projects, asterisk. Sitting on his bed, Damien faces the supercomputer in his room disguised as a regular desktop. Closing his eyes, he partitions his mind into 3 parts. One part starts using all the information he gained from Zola and his future knowledge of MCU to begin writing the programs mentioned earlier, using his powers to begin writing and testing the programs with the help of Alfred. The second part dives into his mindscape to reinforce and improve its defenses and structure. The final one opened his eyes and viewed the screen as all types of knowledge and information about chemistry, physics, biology, and studies or research papers about molecules. Beginning a long study session to study molecules, how they interact, and how they react to the environment. 8 a.m. February 11, 2009. Wayne Industries, HQ, New York. In the CEO's office of Wayne Industries HQ was Mercy Graves and what everyone thought was Bruce Wayne. This Bruce Wayne was actually a synthoid programmed to act as a person while following orders given by Damien and Alfred. Although the synthoid was only able to take over the Bruce Wayne persona 3 years ago, it was able to make major progress on improving and expanding the company. The Wayne Waste was able to expand out of New York and is now in California, Texas, Washington, D.C., and Florida, all of which have a working and profitable recycling service for all the residential and commercial locations, even going so far as to take loads from landfills for recycling. Organic waste such as old foods and biodegradable materials is turned to mulch for resale, whereas all waste is further sorted through the facilities, with workers who go put it through sorting, and industrial-size molecular forge disguised as a smelter or other devices, allowing the company to make profit on selling the raw materials of glass, plastics, paper, and various metals. Wayne Security was able to make multiple home security devices like Ring doorbells, sensors for windows and doors, and many others. These devices were made in bulk and sold to many other home security services. On the other hand, many retired veterans were more than happy to sign up for the security guard position for the Wayne Security's subsidiary, many of which work as guards for other stores and companies on retainer. Some who were accepting of going back in the field worked as mercenaries doing rescue, protection, and security for many clients. Wayne Tech has developed a few devices that have improved the personal lives of people, making better bulletproof vests for police officers that are more durable and made of a thinner and more impact-resistant material. Wayne Tech is also where the equipment made for Wayne Securities was invented. But the company was still expanding. Currently in the office, that was exactly what the two were talking about. Bruce-Mercy, I think it is time for Wayne Industries to begin spreading throughout the rest of the U.S. We need to also work on building Wayne Health and going into the medical field. There are a lot of medical devices in the world that could be further improved or pressed for ease of use. When do you think we can get started on that? Mercy - well, we already had a few plans ready for it. A lot of hospitals on the verge of bankruptcy were purchased and are currently running under the subsidiary in name only. Once everything is set up, we can begin working on Wayne Health. As for spreading Wayne Industries throughout the U.S., we are slowly working on doing so. There are new recycling facilities and manufacturing plants being built currently. And although we have been making a slight profit, I suggest a new product be released soon to be able to cover the losses of the new subsidiary. Bruce - I'm sure we can think of a few things. Chapter 21. Chapter 21. It begins 8:05 a.m. February 11, 2009. Wayne Industries HQ, New York. Bruce, have Wayne Tech R&D look into creating water filters and making home appliances energy efficient. I will also work on getting some major components designed for another new product. We will make a new line of cell phones. Mercy - I'll get them started right away. Mercy then left the office to carry out the orders given to her, leaving Bruce to sit at his desk as he goes through his work. While completing his work and filling out documents to verify things in the company, the Bruce Synthoid is also receiving orders from Alfred. With the new program Damien is in the process of fine-tuning, there will be a lot of potential Hydra spies to fire from the company. Over the next few days, Damien spent the nights finishing up his programs and sending more drones to monitor officials put in place by Hydra, going so far as to look into every mission Hydra agents were involved in, all files and information that they have access to, and current activities. He was even able to uncover some hidden bases and labs for Hydra as well. During this time, he began to send the elites of his mercenary troops on missions around the world to save the lives of certain people being targeted. Those that were saved were brought to one of the secret bases Damien has been constructing over the years. A man-made island with about 100,000 square miles that is in an undisclosed location in the Atlantic Ocean. Cloaked and disguised by multiple devices, this man-made island has been undiscovered since it was first made in 2004. This island is also the safe haven used by all the agents, scientists, and other personnel who were saved by Damien and his officers over the years. The island, Genesis, Also has many cities and facilities for all types of people and purposes. Many rescued people get the chance to live normal lives with their families without looking over their shoulders. Some get the chance to finish their research in a humane and safe/secure environment. Others get a chance to continue fighting the good fight with the comfort of their enemies, thinking that they are dead. As all of this was going on, Damien continued with his regular life. Went to school during the week and hung out with friends, or was in Star Lab doing research on another project. After completing the programs that are currently surveilling Hydra agents across the globe, Damien started experimenting to create unstable molecules. There are a lot of different things that can be made with unstable molecules. Everything from supersuits to data storage units. Damien is first trying to create strands of unstable molecules to create a supersuit for his hero career. Then he will focus on using it to create a data storage unit for Alfred and improve his server and systems. The main server, which is currently in Star Labs, was also massively improved and is connected to all Wayne Industries companies, devices, and systems across the entire US. 6:15 p.m. February 13, 2009. Star Labs. This afternoon, while Damien was in the process of experimenting with the creation of unstable molecules, he received a notification from Alfred. Alfred, sir. The drones around Tony Stark have witnessed an attack on his caravan. Stark is currently unconscious and being taken by the attackers. He is currently in critical condition and has shrapnel embedded in his chest. What is the next course of action, sir? Damien ***, so it finally begins. Now that Phase 1 is starting, I have to get my equipment completed and get ready to interfere with the story a bit, **. For now, don't interfere. Have a synthoid of Dr. Ho Eunson prepared and sent to the location of Stark in 2 months. Make sure it is cloaked and have an extraction ready for the doctor to be swapped. Chapter 22. Chapter 22. New Discovery. *2:36 p.m. February 16, 2009. Shade Household, New York. It has now been a few days since Tony Stark went missing, and people haven't given up the search yet. News of the attack on Tony by the Ten Rings has spread all over, and no one has any idea whether he is alive or dead. While sitting on the sofa with his family and watching TV, Damien is currently connected to his network and finishing his research. Splitting his mind into 3 parts, he is able to enjoy the family time he has while at the same time completing a few projects. One part is continuing his research on unstable molecules, and the other is controlling delivery drones to all the bases and facilities he owns. One separately going to Genesis. Each drone has construction bots and materials to make multiple teleport tubes, along with the equipment to keep them secure and hidden. Over the last few days, Damien has made many breakthroughs in the unstable molecules technology. He was able to recreate the phenomenon but is still unable to control and shape them as he wants. Proceeding with the next stage of experiments at Star Labs with his powers. The next set of experiments involves making stands or fabric out of the material in many different ways to find the most stable methods. Learning more about unstable molecules and how they work in the process. The drones, on the other hand, are distributing the teleport tubes throughout many major locations around the US. Each tube is camouflaged and reinforced to withstand 10 tons of force. Made to look like the surroundings, whether that is an abandoned building side, back alley, old phone booth, and things of the like. Every tube is connected to the main teleport system in Star Labs with a minor control station on Genesis Island. All the tubes require a key, which is made for each authorized person, and the clearance level to use them. Those teleport tubes will make things easier for Damien and other heroes in the future. The portion of his mind that was experimenting with unstable molecules was able to make a new discovery. While he was testing the different ways to bond the unstable molecules, he was able to make a cube. The testing and scans of that cube had shown that the cube of unstable molecules can be used to store data to a greater extent than any databank currently known. This new discovery led to the thought of majorly upgrading his technology, using the unstable molecules to replace the hard drives along with other memory storage devices. With this in mind, he began to create hard drives and other memory storage devices of varying sizes, using the unstable molecules for the main components. He then used those newly created devices to upgrade Alfred's server and main hard drive, along with the supercomputer in Star Labs. Also changing them in his watch and the supercomputer in his bedroom. Some of the new hardware was even sent to Genesis Island through the teleport tubes for the main systems and servers. With this new discovery, Damien realized that he was getting closer to his goal of making a protective suit of the unstable molecules. Now that he was able to reliably form shapes with the unstable molecules, he needed to be able to turn them into strands, which could then be weaved into fabrics and potentially controlled through other devices, pushing himself to complete the project as soon as possible. In preparation for all that is to come, Chapter 23. Chapter 23. Updates. Now a week has passed since the disappearance of Tony Stark, and many things have happened in the meantime. Search parties were made, investigations ongoing, and everyone still has hope that Tony will come back alive. Throughout this time, a lot of people were making moves in the shadows. And organizations were starting to act out their schemes. AIM was testing extremists and using the 10 Rings terrorist group they created as a front for weapons tests and money-making, while the Hand and Hydra stayed hidden. 5:30 p.m. February 20, 2009. Shade Household, New York. After his major discovery with the unstable molecules, Damien was able to improve a lot of the devices he made, even being able to give his parents 2 new presents. His dad got a wristwatch, looking almost like a designer brand. But the watch was actually a computer, tracker, monitoring device, and protection against mind-reading/control. His mother, on the other hand, received a necklace that also looked like a regular locket. The locket did indeed have a picture of the family and was shaped like a heart with a brand design on it. But this necklace also functions the exact same as his dad's wristwatch. Using advanced hardware he got from the unstable molecule experiment, and also using his own powers to further improve on the devices, he was able to make them compact and still able to protect his parents. Now with those 2 new gifts, and the understanding that they have to wear them at all times, his parents have an extra layer of protection. On another note, Wayne Industries was also able to do philanthropy through its new medical subsidiary. Wayne Industries has been donating money to hospitals and clinics in underserved communities. On top of that, Wayne Industries has been using a lot of its recycled materials to make medical supplies for different hospitals and clinics throughout the nation, while also taking their hazardous materials to recycle as well. And with the push from Damien, Bruce Wayne, Wayne Medical has begun work on DNA sequencing and creating new technologies that will help in identifying a person and tracking family ties or ancestry. Although the research is new, with the relevant information and data from both Damien and Alfred, the scientist and engineers were able to progress quicker than anticipated. Now in his room on his computer is Damien. After the upgrades made to his laptop and desktop at home, Damien is now able to multitask even on his home computer. Currently he's going over the research for his unstable Malcolm project at the same time monitoring and managing the information from the Bruce Wayne synthoid. Appearing in the corner of the screen was an animation of Alfred's face. Alfred - Sir. There is news that Aldrich Killian will be testing his Extremis serum personally in 2 weeks. What would you like to do? Damien - send some mosquito drones over to Killian. Make sure there are 2 drones with a sample of his blood both before and after he takes the serum. Also make sure to have some drones go in to copy all the data and information from all the same servers and see if you can get a vial of the serum itself. Make sure that the drones only take samples of Killian after the serum 2 days later as opposed to directly after. Leaning back in his chair, Damien begins to ponder the next few steps in his plans. With 3 months until he can get working schematics of the mini arc reactor and Iron Man suits, Damien needs to do what he can to start preparing for the Chitauri invasion. This means he needs to get some weapons and combat practice before the invasion. With that in mind, Damien begins to design the weapons and other features for his hero suit. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. Stark returns. 1:36 May 3, 2009. Star Labs. Danger room. Standing on a ledge, high up at the top of what seems to be a warehouse. A figure was crouched down looking at the people moving below. The figure in an all-black bodysuit with metallic gauntlets looked at the figures moving crates around the warehouse. Some of the open crates show that the contents were guns and drugs. Moving to different positions in the rafters of the warehouse, the figure was able to investigate everything going on. Seeing a lone figure moving a crate of weapons to an isolated area of the warehouse, the figure followed him. Dropping down from the high walkways, the figure lands silently with the help of the special materials in the sole of the shoes to his suit. He sneaks up the figure and raises his arm. The metallic gauntlet on his right arm shifts, and attack is silently fired into the neck of the lone person just as he puts down the crate. Rushing forward, the figure catches the man and slowly lowers him to the floor without making a sound after he passes out. Tapping his helmet around his ear, the visor of the figure scans the man and gives all types of info about the man he just knocked out. He then walked over to the crate and scanned the weapons as well. He was able to identify the maker, model, and year the guns in the crate were made. The scanner was even strong enough to see the serial numbers that were scratched out on them. Saving the info for further investigation, the figure moved through the warehouse, slowly taking down and tying up three more people before being discovered and shot at. While ducking behind crates, the figure looked down and saw that he was shot in the chest. The bullet stuck to his suit in the center of his chest, but was unable to penetrate the material at all. Suddenly red lights flash from the ceiling and everything around the figure turns to static before disappearing, leaving behind 8 synthoids, 4 of which tied on the floor, in the metal room with him. The mask of the figure suddenly opens up and folds into the collar of the suit to reveal Damien with a frustrated expression. Damien. Alfred, what happened this time? Why did I fail the exercise? Alfred sir, I regret to inform you that you failed because of 3 main points. First, you were discovered before taking out half of the culprits. Second, you got his in a spot that would be fatal and asked for the highest difficulty to pass. Third, you didn't get the leader who escaped once the shooting started. Even though you passed this exercise many times before, it becomes more difficult with all the restrictions you add to yourself. Damien I have to be prepared for everything. Each restriction simulates different situations I may find myself in. No stealth function use, possibly shot in fatal areas, combat in tight spaces, and reconnaissance before acting in situations. Each is possible. Besides, I don't want to reveal my healing factor too soon as a hero. Thinking of the training exercise and things he can do to better himself as a hero, Damien walks out of the danger room. As he walks across the floor, the look of his suit changes as green circuit board designs appear all over the suit glowing green. Then after leaving, Damien connects to the suit with his powers, and the unstable molecule suit slowly retracts into a belt around his waist. The 2 gauntlets on his hands fold into metal bands on his wrists. Walking into the main chamber of Star Labs. Damien then sits on a sofa and wipes his sweat, with a towel he left there previously, and turns on the television on the wall. Damien Alfred. Is there any news I should know about? Alfred sir, Tony Stark was found and is now being escorted back to the United States. He should be landing at a military base soon. I will continue to monitor the situation. Damien good. It all is about to begin. Chapter 25. Chapter 25. 3 months. 2/18 May 3, 2009, Star Labs. Danger Room. Sitting back on the sofa as he reviews Alfred's report, Damien thinks of the progress over the last 3 months. Over the last 3 months, there was a breakthrough in Damien's research that allowed him to make a cloth-like material out of the unstable molecules. Later modifying the material and adding some tech to control the changes in the unstable molecule clothes. Using all of that, he was able to make a bulletproof, slash-resistant, temperature-controlled, sealed suit. Then made metallic gauntlets, boots and a folding helmet to finish the costume. He was able to finish and improve his danger room and have another built in Genesis for his people to use. He was able to use the data from his mercenaries training and running practice ops to learn more. By watching videos, fighting simulations of his people through synthoids, and reviewing all data collected, he was able to learn new martial arts, stealth skills and different combat tactics in the field. Wayne Medical was able to spread a bit more and gain more funding by using their DNA research to be able to track someone's ancestry and family tree. By selling the service and at the same time increasing their database of cataloged genomes. Even allowing people to see diseases and illnesses that they inherit or can be passed down in their families. This info also allowed Damien to see different genes that people had. Even allowing him to see possible inhumans through the system. Making a separate database for everyone that carries that gene. This alone led him to finding J.T. James in South Dakota. Placing surveillance on him allowed Damien to find a piece of alien tech buried near his house through some scans from the drone. The piece was retrieved, studied, scanned, and replaced with a replica. This gave Damien a bit of access to some Kree technology, and with time, he was able to get information from it using his powers. Wayne Medical was able to use its new technology in DNA scanning and identification to produce machines that can enhance DNA testing for the police force. The machines are able to get more information from the copied samples, and even distinguish between multiple sources of DNA in a single sample. The devices are still in the testing phase, but are being used by a few departments on a probationary trial period, which if proven successful will allow for purchases from all over the country. Damien plans to make each device upload all data stored to a server for later use. Damien was also able to spend a bit of time reviewing the ever-growing list of Hydra agents hidden in S.H.I.E.L.D., all the while gaining more access and control of all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s and some of Hydra's systems. Copying and storing all the new information and files in their servers, Damien was able to learn about many different facilities and organizations the two groups were included in or controlled. He also learned of the different projects and experiments currently in progress as well. Curious about what could be found, Damien sent his mercenaries to a few of the abandoned facilities to search for anything at all. While the mercenaries searched the facilities, they were able to uncover some hidden files and evidence linking more Hydra members to the locations. All the info went into expanding the search for Hydra and its members. Damien **, I will have to double down on my training. Everything is starting now that Stark is back, and the next major event isn't until November *. Chapter 26. Short pause. Chapter 27. Chapter 26. Improvements and upgrades. After the press conference, and the subsequent drop in price of Stark Industries stocks, up to 5% of stocks for the company was bought by Wayne Industries. The purchases were pushed by CEO Bruce Wayne. The Wayne Industries purchase of the stock shocked people as Wayne Industries does not deal in weapons and harmful merchandise. That, along with the ongoing expansion, brought Wayne Industries to the eyes of the public. The production of medical tools from recycled materials has helped clinics and hospitals all over the country. This allowed Wayne Industries and their subsidiaries the goodwill of the people. Through the next couple of months, Damien had some major improvements. He continued working on making nanobots to incorporate into the unstable molecule suit. He decided to go against having other tools and materials in his hero suit. Damien thought to use nanobots as one of the major components of his supersuit. Using the nanites, he would be able to instantly change into the suit and also make various tools he would need. Think along the lines of Tony's Infinity War's armor, with the ability to make different devices and constructs, along with the ability to use metals and materials in the surroundings to do the same. With his powers, it was simple to finish his research and development of nanites/nanobots. It took longer to perfectly integrate the nanites with the unstable molecules. But the goal was for the nanites to help control the unstable molecules of the suit to change its shape. This will allow for quick changes into the supersuit. In his personal life, Damien has had progress on many things as well. He just finished the last semester of 7th grade. With his intelligence, it wouldn't be hard for him to ace every class and even skip grades to start college if he wanted. Although that would bring too much attention, so he decided to continue as a normal student until his high school years, even being able to make a few close friends over the years, some of which he was able to hang out with most days when he didn't have to do certain projects in person. But only 3 of his closest friends will possibly be going with him to Midtown School of Science and Technology for high school. Being a B-average student, his friends usually joke about how he keeps high grades without studying. Spending the summer break with his friends some days and at Star Labs on others, Damien was trying to make the most of his time. Knowing that the first major fight Tony has will be in November, he wants to be ready to prevent collateral damage. The Spade household hasn't changed much. Jasmine and Alexander both have better jobs now that their companies are also working with Wayne Industries to consult on certain matters. Jasmine's law firm was consulted with legal matters and copyright issues, also being paid to take care of cases of crimes against the company. Alex, on the other hand, is tasked with reviewing the ledgers and financials to make sure everything is in place. A few embezzlers were found over the years. Sadly, the money was never recovered as they seem to have been spent not long after stealing the money. Those guilty people swore that they never had the chance to spend a dime before Alex found the proof in their poor bookkeeping. Though he questioned the chances that he was almost always called not long after the money was embezzled. But with both of them busy, the Spade family wasn't in any financial troubles. None the wiser that Damien was giving work to his parents from the shadows. As the months passed since the press conference of Tony Stark, there were few major events that Damien had to interfere in. He had fly drones monitoring AIM and Aldrich Killian during their prep for his Extremis injections trials on June 25th. Mosquito drones took blood samples from all test subjects and the serum injection. Blood samples were also taken from the survivors, and everything was monitored and recorded, even being able to test why the serums reacted so violently in the subjects. Then everything was stored in the Star Labs Chem/Bio lab spaces. Now, on July 5th, Tony was seen through the drones starting the designs for his Mark II armor. Chapter 28. Chapter 27, Mark II. July 5, 2009, Stark Basement Lab, Malibu, California. Sitting in a chair at a desktop computer in his basement lab was Tony Stark. Doing a lot better after he returned home and got to replace the arc reactor in his chest. Tony waves a hand over the keyboard, making it light up following the movement of his hand. Pressing a few keys on that custom keyboard, he begins to work. Tony, Jarvis, you up? Jarvis, for you, sir, always. On the screens of the now running computer can be seen the 3D design images for the armor he used to escape the 10 rings. The other screen shows the programs used to run that armor. Tony, I'd like to open a new project file, index as Mark II. Picking up a pen from the cup on the desk, he points at the 3D design and proceeds to drag it. The design follows the pen from one screen to the other, then disappears as he moves the pen to the tabletop to his side, which then projects a holographic model of the armor design that slowly rotates after pulling apart to its base components. Jarvis, shall I store this on the Stark Industries central database? Tony gets up from his chair and begins to walk around the tabletop to his side, all the while viewing the hologram of the design. Tony, actually, I don't know who to trust right now. Till further notice, why don't we just keep everything on my private server? Jarvis, working on a secret project, are we, sir? Reaching the other side of the table, Tony watches as the hologram model pulls itself together to once again show the intact armor. Tony then begins to interact with the model, starting by moving the helmet. Then he lifts the arms and pulls the representation of inner mechanics from the armor and throws it in a holographic trash bin. Tony. I don't want this winding up in the wrong hands. Tony then spins the armor and proceeds to do the same with all the unneeded outer components of the armor. After he throws that away, all that is left is just the shell. Maybe in mine, it can actually do some good. Then Tony looks at the 3D model and spins it on the table as he looks over all the parts. Unknown to Jarvis and Tony, there was someone else listening to their conversation. The new project file and the private server was also accessed from another location without anyone aware. Ever since Tony was brought home from the press conference months ago, Tony's systems were hacked and access points were made by someone Tony didn't even know existed. Under the orders of Damien, and in an effort to better monitor Tony, Alfred hacked into the systems and created access points that would allow him into all of Stark's systems without being noticed by Jarvis. Having a copy of Jarvis' core system from Damien made the process easier, allowing Alfred to mask his actions and activities on the servers. Over the past few months, monitoring Stark proved useful when scans of the two versions of the arc reactor were made. These scans, along with the huge reactor powering Stark headquarters in California, allowed for major changes in Star Labs and Genesis Island power systems. With the help of nanotechnology, Damien was able to also use nanobots to recreate mini arc reactors the size of watch batteries. Doing so, he was able to have a more energy-efficient system for both Star Labs and Genesis. Now Star Labs is completely off the grid and no longer needs to rely on solar power and energy transported from Genesis. Now that Damien is preparing to graduate from middle school and he is beginning high school in September of next year. Knowing this, Damien is spending his summer training even harder and going on missions with his mercenaries in costume. By doing so, he has perfected multiple martial arts and trained his healing factor as well. The experience gained was just what he needed to prepare for the coming trails. In order to do so, he ended up spending 3 weeks sick at home. Damien also had to use teleport tubes on some nights to go on a few quick missions over summer break. Damien spent most of August with his friends and training at Star Labs, using special gravity-based equipment to train his body and the completed danger room to practice and prepare for most situations. But with school starting the beginning of the upcoming month, Damien and his friends enjoyed their break from school while it lasted. 45 p.m. 9/7/2009, Shade House, currently walking home from the bus stop, after the first day of school, is Damien Shade. Today was the start of the school year, and Damien just entered the 8th grade. Today was just a normal day for Damien. In his homeroom he found out he was in the same class as his friends. All of his classes for the day were mostly introductory and review of summer assignments. Having his mind partitioned into 4 parts, of which only one was paying attention to his surroundings and school, enjoying a normal school day, while the other partitions were monitoring Tony and modifying the tech for his suit. Tony had begun putting together the legs of his new suit a few days ago. Through the surveillance on him, Damien was able to get more designs and ideas about Stark's tech. Repulsor technology became a new topic of research as well. Walking into his house, he was greeted by his dad as he continued towards his room. Sitting in front of his computer in his room, Damien turned it on. Damien, now that the nanites and unstable molecules join together perfectly for the suit, all I have to do is make it transform to be hidden and worn quickly. Time for more training and to prepare some gifts for the Avengers. After reviewing all the files and info sent by the Bruce Wayne synthoid, Damien used the teleport tube in his closet to go to Star Labs. 4:10 p.m. September 7, 2009, Star Labs. Once there, Damien goes to an exercise room that has gravity control in the room. Doing training in an environment set to 10 times regular gravity. He trained his entire body to complete exhaustion and until he could barely move. Only then allowing his healing factor to kick in and heal all injuries in his body. Allowing his body to be tempered by constant exercise and healing. He is now strong enough to lift 500 pounds easily. Even training his agility, speed, endurance, and body control. Damien ran on an advanced treadmill while under the restriction of gravity. Barely able to maintain 20 miles per hour for 15 minutes. Doing parkour and an obstacle course in the danger room while under 10 times gravity. Lastly, he fought synthoids in the danger room. The synthoids used blunt weapons and heavy mechanical fists to attack. The synthoids have many martial arts and fighting styles from all around the world. Also many techniques gained through the scanning of people fighting in danger rooms on Genesis Island. Usually Damien would be able to easily fend off 5 synthoids, but under the intense gravity he often gets beaten by fighting 2. Which is good for tempering his body by continuously getting injured then healed. Knowing the events that will happen in the future, Damien gathered some information about all the future Avengers and their weapons of choice. planning to make gifts and things that could help them in the future. For Hawkeye, he planned to make another quiver with multiple arrowhead attachments. All attachments have an array of different uses. At the same time, the stems were made of a sturdier material that mimics all the physical attributes of those he usually uses, but were harder to break. The stems could detach from the arrowheads at any time via the same control used to select arrowheads. For Black Widow, he designed a pair of tonfas. These tonfa have a variety of uses, such as hidden blades, becoming electrified, and using nanotechnology compressing to fit her utility belt, making an effective weapon for her that could also be safely stored without taking too much space. For Dr. Banner, he used unstable molecules to make smart clothes with mechanical controls. The clothes can change into any design while at the same time won't be easily destroyed. The clothes included 3 pairs of shirts, pants, socks, jacket, and even underwear. All clothes can be changed to any design type and mimic them perfectly. For Iron Man, he was preparing a surprise that just might save his life. Most of these were able to be designed before the night was over. Damian was able to use the equipment at his lab to automate the process of making most of his gifts. Everything should be finished within the next month. Chapter 30. Chapter 29. The Reveal. Over the next month, Damian was able to make most of his gifts for the future Avengers, even being able to modify them completely for their intended users. Getting the completed gifts stored in metal cases, shaped like capsules, for future delivery. The capsules are capable of self-delivery to the intended party with the use of repulsor technology. Over the next few months, many events took place, which were monitored by Alfred and Damian. Tony continues to improve and test his suit, along with a meeting with Abidia and the 10 Rings kidnappers. Dr. Banner getting in contact with Samuel Stearns. Tony's first flight in the upgraded suit along with the later fight against the 10 Rings in Gul Mira, Afghanistan. Even the fight that Tony and Abidia had on the night of November 24th was monitored and recorded. There were even a few missions and projects from S.H.I.E.L.D. that were monitored, like Project Tahiti that had a trial experiment in March of 2010. When Banner sends a blood sample to Stearns on April 12th, the sample is tracked and monitored until arrival at Stearns' lab. When Stearns began testing and making artificial copies of the blood sample, a mosquito drone was sent to get a sample. The sample was later scanned and analyzed to show how the gamma radiation was interacting with Banner's blood and DNA. Then Tony appears before the Senate on May 8th. There was a hearing about the Iron Man weapon, and the Senate wanted to confiscate the armor for their own uses. But the hearing ended in embarrassment for Justin Hammer and the Senate not getting what they wanted. Although after this hearing there was extra surveillance placed on Justin Hammer without anyone being aware. Then there was the attack on Tony Stark at the Circuit de Monaco on May 23rd. Ivan Vanko, in a patchwork exoskeleton, walked onto the track of the race and then attacked the race car Tony was driving, shocking the world, as there was now proof that there are people in the world capable of making a high-tech suit of armor like Tony with the ability to cause him harm. Although the incident ended with Vanko being imprisoned, the drones recorded his meeting with Justin Hammer, his hidden release and subsequent hiring at Hammer Industries to complete the Hammer drones. 2:45 p.m., May 30th 10, Star Labs. All those events lead up to today, the Saturday afternoon following Tony's birthday party. The most talked about event of the previous day. After watching the surveillance of the private conversation with Tony and Nick Fury, Damian began to plan for the attack at the Stark Expo the following night. Tony just got the Expo diagrams from his old office and is heading home to reinvent a new molecule, while Damian, on the other hand, is gathering all the evidence and files on Justin Hammer, all his illegal deals, treasonous actions, and even the corners he cut in the production of his weapons. Spending most of the day on that and mankind sure that his new and improved supersuit was ready for action. 5:25 p.m., May 30th 10, Star Labs. Damian, Alfred, did you finish compiling the video of Hammer's interactions with Vanko? Alfred: of course, sir. And I took the liberty to add the files and documents of Hammer's illegal activity to the folder to be sent out at the same time. A copy of the folder is queued up to be sent to multiple sources of media at your order. Damian: that's great. Have the folders sent to the media anonymously through different channels after the fireworks go off. And make sure that S.H.I.E.L.D. and the authorities get the video of Hammer with Vanko the moment Stark leaves the Expo tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting night. Tomorrow I will step out and help Stark a bit and finally reveal Upgrade to the world officially. Chapter 31, Chapter 30. Trouble at the Expo, May 31st 10, Stark Expo. At the Stark Expo, everyone around the main stage was waiting for the next presentation. Excitedly waiting in the stands and seats, as Justin Hammer was announced to be the next presenter. Unknown to anyone, Damian was currently in the latest version of his supersuit and clinging to the wall. He currently had his feet and back to the wall as he watched the stage. The nanites in his suit are clinging to the wall at his feet and back to keep him in place. At the same time, his suit is completely camouflaging him. The unstable molecule material containing his body temp and the nanites projecting the images around him for disguise. Being undetected, he watches the stage as Justin Hammer dances out to the music. Justin, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, for far too long, this country has had to place its brave men and women in harm's way. But then the Iron Man arrived, and we thought the days of losing lives were behind us. Sadly, that technology was kept out of reach. That's not fair. That's not right. And it's just too bad. Regardless, it was an impressive innovation, one that grabbed the headlines the world over. Well, today, my friends, the press is faced with quite a difficult problem. They are about to run out of ink. The stadium goes silent to his horrible joke. Justin visibly cringes as he continues with his speech to get through the awkward moment. Justin, get that out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, today I present to you the new face of the United States military. The Hammer drone. The stage opens up and floors rise up presenting the waiting people with drones. Army. Navy. Air Force. Marines. Yeah. Woo. That's a hell of a lot better than some cheerleaders, let me tell you. But as revolutionary as this technology is, there will always be a need for man to be present in the theater of war, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am proud to present to you the very first prototype in the Variable Threat Response Battlesuit and its pilot, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes. Then the modified Mark I armor rises out of the floor. Once Rhodey is fully presented to the people, he salutes the crowd, which is followed by all of the Hammer droids saluting as well. Justin, for America and its allies, Hammer Industries is reporting for. Before Justin could finish his sentence, everyone heard the sound of rockets. Turning to look, everyone saw Iron Man in new armor swooping down to the stage in a superhero landing. Walking towards Rhodey to speak. Tony. We got trouble. Rhodey. Tony, there are civilians present. I'm here on orders. Let's not do this right now. Tony reaches Rhodey and puts an arm around his shoulder as he turns to the crowd. As he raises an arm and waves, he tells Rhodey. Tony. Give them a wave. Justin runs out front to salvage the presentation and try to get back control of everything as the people in the crowd cheer. Justin. Hey, alright? Yeah. Tony still talks to Rhodey, while waving at the people. Tony, there are civilians present. I'm here on orders. Let's not do this right now. Rhodey starts to slightly wave to the people as well, then responds. Rhodey. Yeah, I tried that. I got tossed around your house, remember? Tony. Listen, I think he's working with Vanko. Rhodey. Vanko's alive? Tony then walks over to Justin, who is at the edge of the stage. Justin, who is still occupied with hyping the people, doesn't notice Tony walking his way. Justin. Yeah. Tony finally gets to Justin and asks him, face to face. Tony. Where is he? Justin. Wah. Tony. Where's Vanko? Justin. Who? Tony. Tell me. Justin. What are you doing here, man? Rhodey. Whoa. In the middle of Tony's interrogation of Justin, Rhodey's HUD goes red and streams of code start to flow down the screen. Damien. Now the show begins, he thinks as he prepares to start his plans for the Expo. Tony turns toward Rhodey to see what is happening, when Rhodey's big gun is activated and locked onto him. Tony. Is that you? Rhodey. No, I'm not doing that. That's not me. I can't move. I'm locked up. Then the drones take aim at Tony as well. Get out of here. Go. This whole system's been compromised. Tony jumps and uses his repulsors to hover over the crowd. Tony. Let's take it outside. Then he flies up toward the ceiling as the drones and Rhodey open fire. As glass begins to fall, Rhodey takes off after him. At that moment, Damien mentally toggles a program to run with his powers. Then all non-essential screens and projectors in that area of the Expo go red. They start flashing evacuation orders and telling people to leave in a calm and orderly fashion. As the drones then proceed to follow Rhodey after Tony. Chapter 32. Chapter 31. A Helping Hand. 5/31/10. Stark Expo. After the glass falls, people are rushing out of the building. Those unaware of the situation are being instructed to leave by all the screens and projectors. While all that is happening, Damien spots 3 people running backstage. Justin, unknowingly followed by Pepper Potts and Natasha Romanoff. Seeing that, Damien runs along the walls toward the backstage area. On his way there, Damien uses his powers to follow Justin. Just in time to see him run to a technician sitting at a computer. Justin. What's going on? What's happening? Technician, the software's been overridden. Justin, what? What do you mean it's been overridden? What does that mean? Technician, I think he slaved the drones. Justin, that's impossible. Call the guards. Justin screams to his butler/personal assistant. Jack, all the phones are down, sir. Justin, well then call their cells. Justin stammers and he freaks out to solve the problem. Jack, their cell phones are not working either, sir. Technician, he's locked us out of the mainframe. Then Pepper and Natasha run up with Damien not that far behind. Pepper, who's locked you out of the mainframe? Justin, please, go away. Go away. I've got this handled. He says to Pepper with his hand out to get her to pause for a moment. Pepper, have you now? Screams as she tries to figure out what caused the drones to go berserk. Justin, yes, I do. In fact, if your guy hadn't showed up, this wouldn't be happening, so, please, now go away. Thank you. He then turns back to the technician on the computer. Then whispers in his ear. Listen, we got to get these bitches out of here. Then Natasha comes up to him and grabs him by the shoulder and arm. What? She then proceeds to put him in an arm bar. Then forces him face first into a table. Natasha, you tell me who's behind this. Who's behind this? Justin. Ivan Vanko. He barely stammers out because of the pain from the expertly placed arm bar. Natasha. Where is he? Justin. He's at my facility. Just as she gets the answer she was looking for, Natasha leaves from backstage. As she is leaving, Pepper starts a phone call. Pepper, I need NYPD, please. Justin. No. He pleads as he is afraid of the repercussions of his actions. Pepper. Command Central. Pepper. Command Central. Just as Justin is about to plead again, the image on the screen changes. The screen goes white and all you can see is the Omnitrix symbol. Then it changes again, after everyone got a look, showing a compiled video of the major transactions between Justin and Ivan over the last week. Then a bunch of documents pop up showing the paper trail of everything Justin did to get Ivan out of jail as well as cover it up. Damien looks at the info he sent over and proceeds to send the folder he made the other day with all of Justin Hammer's misdeeds to all major news stations around the country. Damien. Asterisk, now my work here is done. Let me fix Rhodey's suit before things get too serious, asterisk. Damien, while still camouflaged, runs outside the building just in time to see Tony save a kid. The kid in an Iron Man mask and gloves was having a stare down with a drown as he raised a hand with glove glowing. Tony dropped down softly right behind the kid and blasted the drone with his repulsor. Tony. Nice work, kid. He says as he takes off and the drones begin to catch up to him. Damien then runs through the crowd and begins to lose his camouflage. He starts running from drone to drone, disabling all the surface-to-air missile launchers with blades formed from his nanometallic gauntlets. Those he can't get to in time are temporarily disabled with his powers before he slashes the launchers off the drone. While doing this, all the drones continue to chase Tony. Tony finally gets the drones and Rhodey to follow him to the globe when he notices a little icon on the bottom left corner of his HUD screen. Tony. I'm sorry, buddy. Had to thin out the herd. What's your 20? A mini Omnitrix symbol can be seen there, and just as he clears the globe he hears a robotic voice. You look like you could use some help. So I thought I'd lend you a hand. Just as Tony was about to respond, Rhodey tackles him from behind and they crash into the biodome. But as they fall, Rhodey notices that his screen went white with a strange symbol in the center. Then he gained full control of the suit the moment he touched the ground. Chapter 33. Chapter 31. Fireworks. May 31st 10, Stark Expo. Biodome. Tony. I'm sorry, buddy. Had to thin out the herd. What's your 20? A mini Omnitrix symbol can be seen there, and just as he clears the globe he hears a robotic voice. You look like you could use some help. So I thought I'd lend you a hand. Just as Tony was about to respond, Rhodey tackles him from behind and they crash into the biodome. But as they fall, Rhodey notices that his screen went white with a strange symbol in the center. Then he gained full control of the suit the moment he touched the ground. Tony. Who are you, and thanks I guess. Tony said questionably. Already noticing that Rhodey was back in control of his armor. Then begins to order Jarvis. Jarvis, find out who this is. I gave you your friend back. But you should get ready. The drones are on the way. Tony. Who are you and how did you get on this channel? Just call me Upgrade. I'll be taking care of the people. So get all the drones. The voice said, and then a familiar person was seen on his HUD. Natasha. You got your best friend back. Tony. I got some help. Nice to see you, Agent Romanoff. Natasha. Well done on the new chest piece. I am reading significantly higher output and your vitals all look promising. The image on his screen showed Agent Romanoff looking up at him. Tony. Yes, for the moment, I'm not dying. Thank you. Pepper. What do you mean you're not dying? Did you just say you're dying? Tony, surprised that Pepper heard the conversation, rushed to explain. Tony. Is that you? No, I'm not. Not anymore. Pepper. What's going on? Tony. I was going to tell you. I didn't want to alarm you. Pepper. You were gonna tell me? You really were dying? Pepper said. Exacerbated. Tony. You didn't let me. Pepper. Why didn't you tell me that? Tony. I was gonna make you an omelet and tell you. Natasha. Hey. Save it for the honeymoon. You got incoming, Tony. Looks like the fight's coming to you. Tony. Great. Pepper. Pepper. Are you okay now? Tony. I am fine. Don't be mad. I will formally apologize. Pepper. I am mad. Tony. When I'm not fending off a hemorrhoid attack. Pepper. Fine. Tony. We could have been in Venice. Pepper. Oh please. Tony, after ending the call, walks over to Rhodey, who was still on the ground as his systems rebooted. He then taps on Rhodey's helmet. Tony. Rhodes? Snap out of it, buddy. I need you. They're coming. Come on, let's roll. Get up. Tony then helps Rhodey off the ground. Rhodey's helmet opens up and he begins to speak. Rhodey. Oh man. You can have your suit back. As the two prepare for their fight with the drones, Damien has helped people evacuate. While everyone was distracted, he was even able to get 2 droids sent to Star Labs after disabling their little surprise meant for Tony. Damien. Now that the authorities are here, and most of the people are gone, I should make sure the blasts won't do permanent damage. After thinking that, Damien went all around the park to make sure that all the down drones, and their components, were away from structural supports. He wanted to make sure that they were far enough from important parts of buildings and other areas to not cause permanent damage to the park and its artifacts. After he finished securing the area and making sure that Pepper was the only one left in the blast zone, Damien prepared to move and watch the action. The palms of his gauntlets and the soles of his boots began to move as if alive and made repulsors that Damien used to fly to a rooftop out of sight. Watching through all the cameras, and the feed from Tony's and Rhodey's helmets. Watching the entire fight between the two and the drones. Ending in the explosion of Vanko's new suit and the start activation of the explosives in the drones scattered around the Expo. Tony, noticing that Vanko rigged the drones, rushes off to save Pepper. He manages to grab her and fly up just before the drone near her explodes and takes her to a nearby roof. Damien takes a picture of that moment and sends a copy to Jarvis for Tony to see later. Damien. Nothing beats fireworks after all the excitement, Damien thinks as he flies off in camouflage, unseen and undetected by anyone. Chapter 34, Chapter 32, Gods and Monsters, 6/1/10:05 a.m., Stark House, Malibu. With the embers from the exploded drones dying out, and Rhodey having already left, Tony and Pepper headed home for the night. Although the night was not restful for Tony. He spent most of the night reviewing security footage and checking all his tech for traces of his mysterious helper. Although he was able to see the armored figure in action, saving multiple lives, he wasn't able to track him or find traces of his hack into the systems. The heroic picture of himself saving Pepper, after the figure was seen leaving in security cams, only adding to the frustration. Knowing it came from the mystery helper, who wanted to be known as Upgrade, because it was sent with the same symbol as a watermark. With no evidence of how the picture appeared on his server, Tony wasn't able to find out anything. Tony. Jarvis, continue the search while I prepare to go meet the pirate. The next day, Tony will be seen sitting in front of the spy, meeting Nick Fury and having a convo about the Avengers initiative. Unknown to the two of them, there were a few hidden devices stowed away with Agent Coulson on his trip to New Mexico. Following Agent Coulson were 3 drones, 2 of which with a special task. The last drone was one that usually monitors Agent Coulson. Now that he was in New Mexico, Coulson was quick to quarantine the area and get experts to study the mysterious hammer, DT 6/1/10, Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. After getting sent to the hospital by Jane Foster and Eric Selvig, Thor wakes up to nurses trying to draw blood. After putting up a fight, he is sedated, while the nurses go back to his duties. Thor escapes the hospital after waking up only to be hit again by Jane Foster as she leaves the parking lot. While this is happening, Agent Coulson arrives at the crater around Thor's hammer Mjolnir. He then has the group of people surrounding the hammer to evacuate the area and then quarantines the surroundings. It didn't take long for Thor to hear about the location of the hammer. Later at night, Thor was caught intruding on the quarantined area around his hammer. This causes his subsequent capture and sent to an interrogation cell after being apprehended by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Eric Selvig later goes to the base to meet Thor and get him released. Giving a convincing lie to Agent Coulson, Thor was later released into the custody of Eric Selvig under the alias of Donald Blake. He was able to go home with Eric Selvig, but was followed by one of the drones and some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. 6/1/10, Willowdale, Virginia. Meanwhile in Willowdale, Virginia, Bruce Banner was able to sneak into Culver University disguised as a pizza man. Although he was still discovered by Betty Ross, who invites him to spend the night at her house, where her boyfriend, Leonard Sampson, secretly calls the military. After being informed about Banner going to Culver University again the following day, Lieutenant General Ross uses the opportunity to test the enhancements to Emil Blonsky and prepare to capture the Hulk. Chapter 35, Chapter 33, Battle at Culver University, 6/2/10, Carver University, Willowdale, Virginia. Early the next morning, as Betty Ross and Bruce Banner are walking across Culver University campus, Bruce begins to notice something is off. As he looks around, he begins to see that they are being monitored by people all around. Every time Bruce looked in their direction, they would move out of sight. "Bruce, they're here," he says to Betty as he continues to look around, being careful not to move his head from her direction as his eyes swivel around. "Betty, what?" she says, confused, not knowing what was going on. "Bruce, go home. You've got to get as far away from me as you can, right now. Go," he says to her while grabbing her arms. Then he takes off running through the campus green. As Bruce makes it through the tree line, he sees Emil Blonsky for the second time, running in his direction, also hearing all the military trucks chasing after himself as well. Blonsky easily overtakes the other soldiers in the chase. But Bruce makes it to the library before anyone can catch up with him. Just enough time to hide and swallow his thumb drive, protecting it from being confiscated. As he escapes through the overpass, he gets cornered by soldiers on the other side who close the doors and lock him in. As Bruce turns back, he realizes the soldiers chasing him have caught up and did the same to his entry point. Looking around through the glass surrounding the overpass, Bruce sees he is surrounded and has snipers aimed at him. The very next moment gas canisters are launched, one after the other, through the glass walls. The overpass begins to be filled with gas. Bruce struggles to breath and takes off his button-down shirt to filter the smoke. But slowly he falls to the ground using the glass walls as support, slowly passing out. That's when the glass cracks and his hand slowly turns green. Bruce Banner hulkied out and escaped the ambush. Then there was a complete battle with the military. Blonsky was the only one able to contend with the Green Giant. Bullets bouncing off his skin, and mortar shells from tanks only able to push him back while pissing him off more. Swinging around trucks like hammers onto others. Using the scrapes of those trucks and tanks as shields and weapons in his one-on-one fight with Blonsky, who could only jump around and dodge every attack by an inch. Later running away towards some military trucks that drove up loaded with some kind of weapon on top. Once fired, they turned out to be sonic cannons that Hulk later destroyed using his metal scrap shields. Even after all of that, Blonsky doesn't give up. He picks up a submachine gun and keeps shooting Hulk. The Hulk then walks up to Blonsky and gives him a kick to the chest. Blonsky is sent flying and barrels into a tree, breaking most of the bones in his body. Then a helicopter flew in while Betty was walking up to the Hulk. It begins shooting, and the Hulk protects her while throwing his last shield to destroy the Black Hawk helicopter. The Hulk grabs Betty and protects her from the ensuing explosion, then jumps away with her, taking her to a cave where they take cover from the rain, only to transform back into Bruce Banner in the night and go to a motel with Betty in the next town in the morning. Chapter 36. Chapter 34. Monster in Harlem. June 4, 10, Harlem, New York. After hiding away at the motel, Bruce and Betty are able to clean themselves up after the battle at Culver, using the time to get needed supplies and make a plan to meet up with Mr. Blue. They make it to New York by bribing a boat owner to take them to Lower Manhattan on the Hudson River, got a cab to Central Park and walked to Grayburn College. They then went to meet Dr. Samuel Stearns as he was leaving a lecture. They go to his office as he realizes that he was talking to the Mr. Green he had been chatting with online. They talk about the chances of their theorized cure working and if Stearns is prepared to go through with the procedure, unaware of a drone sent into the room with them. This drone was tasked with observing their conversation and then later searching the room for all research and materials regarding Hulk and his transformation, making copies and destroying the originals as soon as they leave the building. The trio then went to a laboratory where Stearns experimented on his theories. They then strapped Bruce to a lab table to prepare for the cure. An invisible figure watching from a corner of the room. As the experiment ends, Bruce turns back from his Hulk form and all seems successful. They then return to the office to talk about the experience. While they walk out, the invisible figure goes to the lab table and equipment to collect samples of Hulk blood along with the few drops of cure left in the tubes. Only to hear the trio leaving towards another room. The invisible figure followed them without being noticed and saw them walk into a lab with blood bags in glass cases throughout the room. Stearns, we started on rats and mice, but it just completely fried them, so we had to go bigger. And we still don't know which is more toxic, the gamma or your blood. Stearns said as he led them into the next lab room with blood bag storage, / Bruce. What do you mean, my blood? Bruce looks at Stearns, confused. Betty mirroring his sentiment from behind. Stearns. Bruce, this is all you, motioning to the cases around him. You didn't send me much to work with, so I had to concentrate it and make more. With a little more trial and error, there's no end to what we can do. This is potentially Olympian. Bruce and Betty then proceed to walk around the lab and observe the cases, noticing that all the blood bags in the case are labeled Mr. Green. Each section of the case has a batch number and a percentage for the strength of concentration used to make the batch. The invisible figure followed inside as well and began to scan the room along with the cases. Then going to Stearns that started typing on a computer and secretly added a drive to the back undetected. Stearns, this gamma technology has limitless applications. We'll unlock hundreds of cures. We will make humans impervious to disease. He continued on as Bruce and Betty walked around and inspected everything, until they all got to the back table and gathered around. Bruce. No, we've got to destroy it. Bruce said as he began to think of the implications this entails. Stearns. Wait, what? Stearns is confused, as he doesn't understand the reason to waste such an opportunity. Bruce. All of it. Tonight, we're going to incinerate it. Is this the whole supply? Stearns. What? We could get the Nobel for this. He says exacerbated from the thought of missing his chance at glory. Bruce. You don't understand the power of this thing. He says as he points at Stearns to try and make him understand. It is too dangerous. It cannot be controlled. Stearns. 3 of us. This is Promethean fire. He exclaims, not wanting to give up all the hard work and possible glory. Bruce. It's just too dangerous. There is no telling what would happen if this got in the wrong hands. Stearns. We have the antidote now. Bruce. They don't want the antidote. They want to make it a weapon. And if we let it go, we will never get it back. You don't have any idea how powerful this thing is. Stearns. I hate the government just as much as anyone, but you're being a little paranoid, don't you think? But just as Stearns said that, a gunshot was heard followed by the sound of broken glass. Then Bruce hunched forward in pain, as something hit his right shoulder from the window. Then a helicopter lowers with a spotlight on the lab window. Seeing the dart in Bruce's shoulder, Stearns screams in shock as Betty supports Bruce and pulls it out, lowering with him as he falls to his knees. Betty, Bruce. Bruce. She screams as she checks to see if he is okay. Bruce still has a look of shock on his face as he spots Blonsky walking in with an assault rifle. Bruce. Get out. He tells Betty, worried about her safety. She turns to see Blonsky as well and gets up to block him, but is instead pushed out of the way into one of the cases. Then falls to the ground after the hard impact. Blonsky then rushes over to Bruce and grabs him by the face with both hands, shaking him. Blonsky. Where is it? Come on, where is it? Continuing to shake and slap Bruce around to get a reaction. Show him to me. Then looking Bruce in the eye, but disappointed the Hulk didn't come out, he knocks out Bruce, hitting him in the face with the blunt end of his assault rifle, just as more soldiers rushed in screaming his name. The soldiers take Bruce away on a gurney after putting him in specialized cuffs and securing him down, Betty being escorted out of the building with them. All the while, Blonsky is still in the lab with Stearns and one other soldier. Blonsky and Stearns continue to talk about the experiment and the possibilities of giving someone else the power of Hulk. The other soldier complained and was knocked out by Blonsky. As Stearns begins to explain the ramifications of doing the experiment to Blonsky, he gets lifted in the air as a threat as Blonsky runs out of patience. Agreeing to do the experiment on Blonsky, now that he has informed consent, they go to the other lab. Once strapped into the lab table, the experiment starts. As Blonsky starts to transform, he hits Stearns who falls under a table. As he is staring into the ceiling, the invisible figure rushes over and uses vials to catch the drops of concentrated Hulk blood. Then looks down at Stearns and kicks him in the head where it was hit earlier by Blonsky. The kick is strong enough to break his skull and Stearns bleeds out. The figure then releases a gauntlet to send the nanites that compose it to destroy all the loose Hulk blood on the counters and surfaces, while he moves further away from Blonsky after his transformation. Chapter 37. Chapter 35. Duel of Monsters. June 4th, 10, Harlem, New York. Having fully transformed, Blonsky then begins to laugh while enjoying his newfound power. Two soldiers then enter the room to check on the situation and are shocked to see a Hulk in the lab. They start shooting Blonsky only to be killed by him. Blonsky then throws the lab table out the window, followed by the last surviving soldier, after which he jumps out himself and starts wrecking everything on the street. While Blonsky was enjoying his power and throwing around cars, the invisible figure in the lab grabbed vials and samples of everything. Damien was able to grab a bag and fill it with different vials and samples from all over the lab. He then connected to all the lab equipment with his powers and copied all data ever recorded with them, making sure to wipe the systems completely afterwards. Damien then had his drones completely scan all documents and files in Stern's office and lab space, destroying all traces of the information after completion. Just to be thorough, Damien released all the nanobots that made his gauntlets and had them sweep all relevant rooms. They searched for hidden caches of info and files, DNA, samples, and anything that could be used to recreate another Hulk. All DNA, except a preserved sample sent to Damien's bag, was completely destroyed by the nanobots. The drones were alerted the moment files, documents, and other info was found, working to complete the instructions they were given. While this was going on, Damien further searched through Stern's computers and had Alfred search all systems of all people Stern's worked with for info on the experiments. All data found was copied to Star Labs and the originals destroyed and wiped out from their systems permanently. Damien even sent drones to kill and incinerate the test subjects from the experiments that Stern's mentioned earlier. Damien, Alfred, make sure to send the evacuation alert for a 3-block radius. Make sure everyone knows that they should leave as quickly as possible. Alfred, yes sir. Emergency broadcast is sent out on all devices in a 3-block radius. Everyone is being notified of a gas leak in the sewer system covering the area. Explosions caused by Blonsky are giving credibility to the notice. With the nanobots having scrubbed the entire office of all DNA, and the drones clearing all data from the experiments, Damien started a fire after grabbing his bag. With a bag in hand, Damien begins to walk to the exit as the drones follow him out and the nanobots flow up his legs to his arms. His gauntlets reformed on his hands and he passed the bag over to one of the drones, sending it to Star Labs so that the samples can be stored and analyzed. Damien then leaves the building and follows the carnage left behind just as the lab and office explode from the chemicals and gases burned. Hearing another explosion, Damien ran towards the noise only to see the abomination Blonsky became throwing a taxi down on an army jeep, killing all the passengers. Then Damien looks up and sees the helicopter flying overhead and notices a person that jumped out. That person craters into the street and out comes the Hulk. Once the Hulk comes out of the crater, he roars and gets the attention of the abomination. They then rush at each other and Hulk gets thrown down the street through a bus. Laughing at Hulk showing weakness, Abomination slowly walks up to Hulk, through the wreckage of a bus. Seeing that Abomination was coming close, Hulk smashed a police car in half, then used them as knuckles. Using those halves of the police car, he punched Abomination, being knocked down and into the road. Hulk keeps punching him until he craters the road. Abomination, is that all you got? He then proceeds to kick Hulk through multiple buildings. Then climbs up the wall to find where Hulk landed, only for the helicopter to open fire on Abomination. Abomination jumps around the top of buildings to dodge the rain of bullets from the machine gun, finally getting a good enough range to jump at the shooting chopper. Just as he prepared to knock it out of the sky, his foot is grabbed by Hulk and pulls him down enough that Abomination could only grab the rail. The combined weight of the two monsters is enough to crash the helicopter. Once they get up for the crash, the two attack again, only for the Hulk to get pinned to the wall. Abomination, you don't deserve this power. Now watch her die. He proceeds to jab his extended elbow bone into Hulk's chest. Hulk pulls the arm away and is able to push Abomination head first into the wall. But while this happens, electrical wires light the spilled gas from the helicopter. The flames then travel towards the crashed helicopter and begin to grow in size. Seeing this, Hulk quickly turns and claps towards the helicopter. The shockwave puts out the flames and saves Betty along with the other survivors. But while distracted, Abomination sneaks up on him with a chain connected to concrete posts, which he swings at Hulk and sends him to the ground, pulling loose the rest of the posts. Abomination then swings the other side at Hulk and then spots the general in the helicopter. Abomination, General. He then starts to swing the posts overhead towards the helicopter, hitting what is left of the propeller in the first swing. Any last words? Seeing the helicopter that Betty was in almost get hit by the posts, Hulk gets mad. Hulk! Hulk smash! He screams as he slams both fists into the road, causing a crater that runs all the way to the Abomination's feet. When the Abomination steps into the crater, his grip on the chain slips. Letting go, the posts fly up then fall, hitting him square on the head. Hulk rushes up and grabs the chain, tying it around the Abomination's neck, tanking a few punches as he proceeds to choke out the Abomination. Once his enemy is unconscious, he looks at Betty but is interrupted by the spotlight that flashed on him. Hulk then leaves as he jumps from building to building, losing the helicopter chasing him, but not the drone that once again follows from the shadows. Chapter 38. Chapter 36. Damage Control. June 4, 10, Harlem, New York, back to the beginning of the Duel of Monsters. After watching the Hulk and the Abomination charge each other for the first time, Damian went to clear the area. Using the scanners in his suit, he went around the buildings to clear people from the area of the fight, following the two monsters during their brawl to make sure that collateral damage was kept to a minimum. At the same time, he had drones covering the fight from 3 different angles for research and possibly help change how Hulk is viewed. Once they started jumping from rooftops, Damian wasn't that far behind. And when the helicopter fired on the building, Damian was inside. Using his nanite gauntlets to form a shield, he was able to protect a small family in one of the apartments. They had been unable to leave when the alert started due to the young children and thought they would be safe inside, hiding behind a shield in constant flux, rippling from every shell that hit it. After the helicopter was brought down, Damian went to make sure that the flames didn't spread from the fight. Damian continued going around and preventing more damage, catching or deflecting errant debris from people and major parts of structures, moving people away from the battle zone, even going so far as to make sure that most of the damages to buildings, roads, and vehicles was catalogued to be later added to the damage report by the general. Everything was over soon, and Damian even got footage of Hulk saving the helicopter and choking the Abomination unconscious. Finally watching as the spotlight from a news helicopter shines down on Hulk as he walks towards Betty, then jumping away through the rooftops and leaving the city. Damian then sends the compiled video, showing Hulk stopping the Abomination from wrecking the city and harming others, even showing how he saved the copter full of military personnel. When the media later broadcast about 2 monsters fighting in Harlem, the teleprompters always changed to Hulk saving Harlem from a monster. But currently, Damian was going back through the entire area with his scanners and having the nanites in his suit destroy any blood, from either the Hulk or Abomination, left at the scene, just to make sure that no one was later affected by the leftover radiation. With all that done, Damian then went invisible and used the repulsors in the shoes of his suit to fly to the nearest teleport tube, using it to go to Star Labs with all the drones and materials he gained from Stern's lab. Having a separate room in the lab/experiment sector of the Hidden, Damian walks in to put away all the samples, notes, and materials gained from Stern's. Having already prepared multiple equipment and tools necessary for the study, experimentation, and storage of radioactive materials, including but not limited to gamma radiation and the radiated blood of the 2 monsters. Having the drones download all scrubbed data from all the machines, equipment, and computers from Stern's lab and office to the server. Damian then has the machines in the room begin a complete scan and test of all data and samples. Chapter 39. Chapter 37. Reflection and Preparation. June 4, 10, 11:15 p.m. Star Labs. Sitting in the lounge area of Star Labs was Damian, still wearing his suit, but without the helmet and gauntlets, both of which lay on the table in front of him as he watches video of all the events that took place earlier that night. While he does that, the nanites in his gauntlets and computer in his helmet are backing all information and data gained to the main server in Star Labs. As he sits back, Damian contemplates all the actions he took tonight. Damian, asterisk of all the things that happened tonight, I could have prevented all of it. I could have saved more lives. I could have let Stearns live. But if I do too much, I ruin the future. Okay. Now isn't the time to focus on what could have been. I saved who I could in a situation that could have been worse. I prevented the creation of another super intelligent villain, all the while preventing any knowledge of Banner's work, Stern's research, and other info from getting into anyone else's hands. I did what I had to, and now is the time to focus on the future. I have 2 more years before the invasion, asterisk. Giving a long sigh, Damian gets up and walks to the computer terminal on the back wall of the lounge. He starts going through all the data and scheduling the video to be sent to news and media in New York a few days later, monitoring the reactions of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Dr. Banner's current location. Damian - Alfred, Pull up the plans for expansion for Wayne Industries and all subsidiary companies. An image of an animated butler appeared in the bottom corner of the screen. Alfred dash, right away, sir. Here are the plans for expansion and the current projects the companies are working on. The animated figure disappeared from the screen as numerous files and diagrams began to flood it. The documents included reports from both the Wayne Synthoid and Mercy, including current states that facilities are currently active or being constructed in. Profits from the subsidiaries and projects that are currently waiting approval. Included all research and blueprints on file. Spending some time reviewing the info, he also puts in an order for Wayne Security to sell products to businesses in New York to fortify buildings and shelters. Finished with the reports and sending new directives to the Wayne Synthoid to change the direction of the companies, Damien looks over at the clock. Noticing that it is 12:30 a.m. on June 5th, Damien decides to do some quick designs for version 2 of his super suit, trying to incorporate more nanites and functions to the suit overall. His new design uses the nanites to weave the unstable molecule fabric into a full bodysuit. The nanites then form a layer over that adds additional metallic protection, while at the same time being able to transform into any device needed, effectively replacing the gauntlets and coverings for his boots, as the nanite material would be able to cover the hands and feet in a thin coating of material, which can transform at will to gauntlets or repulsors. Excited with the thought and design, Damien makes a few notes and has Alfred begin a search and scan for all metallic compounds that would be strong enough to use in such a suit. Chapter 40. Chapter 38. Aftermath. Over the next month, a lot of things have happened. Starting with the news and media airing commentary on video of the Hulk vs. Blonsky fight. Every news channel painted Blonsky as a hero who underwent an experimental procedure to fight off Hulk, who was destroying a neighborhood, even going so far as to describe Hulk as a mindless monster who only knows how to destroy things. These stories, reports, and commentaries continued on for 3 days before all news and media platforms received multiple videos edited to show all the moments Hulk saved people and the destruction caused by Blonsky. The videos became so widespread that the news stations had to make retractions on their comments and descriptions of the fight. Some people even began to see the Hulk as a hero instead of the monster the media originally wanted people to associate him as. While all that was going on, many organizations and companies were trying to find the origins of the videos. As soon as they are discovered and deleted from online, another copy is uploaded on another platform at the same time. The most that was found was that a few bots using variations of the same accounts are continuously posting the videos. A month later, on July 5th, Tony Stark goes into a bar to talk to General Ross. As a consultant for the Avengers initiative, Tony goes to talk to General Ross in order to recruit Emil Blonsky, only to annoy the general and get rejected. With Blonsky out of the options, S.H.I.E.L.D. continues to monitor the Hulk for a possible recruit. During this time, Damien was able to make a bit of progress in his projects, finding a way for the nanobots for his suit to weave the unstable molecule fabric on their own and retract it as well. He was able to further spread the subsidiaries of Wayne Industries to other states in the country as well. Due to her hard work, Damien is also making preparations to trust Mercy with more important work and projects. With all the things going on, Damien is also preparing for the start of high school, waiting for the time he can truly start to change things for the better. All the while, doing secret missions for practice and experiments. At the same time, expanding his search for corrupt officers and government officials, gathering all evidence and information to prove their criminal acts.